Chapter 652. Yinsheng. Don't be so shameless. Before Yi Baiming could get angry, Long Shui couldn't stand it anymore. Shut up. I'm talking to your master. Why are you interrupting? Yinsheng was unhappy. What was wrong with this woman? She was talking to Night Fox. Why was she interfering? Long Shui, go down and receive your punishment. In the future, you are not allowed to enter without my summons. Yi Baiming's eyes turned cold. Long Shui had crossed the line. Long Guasha's powdered face turned white. Her master was angry. She didn't dare to say more and quickly left. The room regained its peace and quiet. Little wild cat, can you stop saying things that you don't mean? Yi Baiming sighed and reached out his hand to caress Yunsheng's cheek. Yunsheng's eyelashes trembled and a trace of embarrassment flashed across her eyes. He saw through her again. This man damned understood her. He understood that she was acting out of spite and was saying those words out of concern. Although she was both embarrassed and angry, a certain part of Yunsheng's heart had become very soft. For a moment, the two of them had nothing to say. The silent atmosphere made Yunsheng's mouth dry and her heart beat faster. Let me take a look at your wound. Yunsheng could only use the excuse of looking at his wound to resolve her embarrassment. She ignored Yi Baiming and opened Yi Baiming's wound. She found a near-fatal wound on his chest. Judging from the wound, it was an attack that was enough to penetrate his heart. In fact, the situation at that time was much more dangerous than Yunsheng had imagined. Feng Tian was the second accident in Yi Baiming's 17 years. As for the first accident, it was the little wild cat in front of him. Yi Baiming had never thought that there would be such an important person in his life. She was so important that he could even abandon his own life. That day, after the Hidden Night Pavilion made their offer, in order for the Hidden Night Pavilion to save Yunsheng as soon as possible. The next day, Yi Baiming fought Feng Tian under the arrangement of the Hidden Night Pavilion. This was the most intense battle that the Earthwings competition zone had ever seen since it had been established. Even Elder Yu and Elder Helion had specially rushed over to show their support. In that match, Yi Baiming and Feng Tian both revealed a side of themselves that no one knew about. Yi Baiming did not say anything and Yunsheng did not ask either. Yunsheng only saw Yi Baiming's wound. It wasn't hard for her to imagine the tragic situation at that time. His fingers couldn't help but tremble. This injury had been healed by magic, which showed how dangerous the situation was at that time. Feng Tian was actually powerful to such an extent. Feng Tian is not as simple as you think. He comprehended profound magic. This is the wound from the match. Yi Baiming pulled Yunsheng's hand over and placed her soft and cold hand on his burning chest. The wound was very painful, but Yunsheng's hand made his wound much more comfortable. Yunsheng retracted her hand. She wanted to withdraw her hand, but Yi Baiming's hand firmly grasped hers, making her unable to resist at all. No matter what, he still lost in the end. Yi Baiming, are you a cockroach? You can even escape unscathed after encountering such a strong opponent. Yunsheng slapped Yi Baiming's hand away, her cheeks flushed. A trace of ridicule flashed across Yi Baiming's eyes. The little wild kitten's duplicity made him unexpectedly moved. You know you're seriously injured. Why don't you have a good rest? Yunsheng noticed that Yi Baiming had obvious dark circles under his eyes. Yi Baiming just smiled and didn't explain further. He had always been a light sleeper and had never laid on the bed with anyone. After the match that day he was seriously injured. Although Silone wanted to escort him back immediately, Yi Baiming still insisted on going to the Hidden Night Pavilion in person to take Yunsheng back from the Hidden Night Pavilion. After seeing that Yunsheng was almost recovered, Yi Baiming carried her back to the stronghold regardless of his injuries. However, when he was about to put Yunsheng down, the little wild kitten refused to let go for some reason and hugged him tightly. He had no choice but to ask Long Shui to change the little wild kitten's clothes and let Yunsheng rest on his arm. After a full day and night, the little wild kitten woke up. This was the reason why Yunsheng saw Yi Baiming when she opened her eyes later. His arm was still numb at this moment. I'll take a dose of sleeping medicine for you. Although your physique is good, you're seriously injured this time and need at least half a month to rest. Yunsheng looked at the wound. Yi Baiming's wound was well treated. She glanced at Yi Baiming's open lapel and found that there was a suspicious puddle of unknown substance on Yi Baiming's white lapel. It seemed to be her saliva. Yunsheng's ears burned for a while. She was so embarrassed that she quickly prescribed a dose of medicine and ordered someone to decoct it. Since the punishment incident, she found that the atmosphere between her and Yi Baiming was different. There seemed to be a trace of strangeness, but she couldn't tell exactly what was wrong. The medicine was quickly decocted. After Long Shui was sent away, a simple and honest-looking man delivered the medicine. Yun Sheng looked at him and recognized that he was one of the double dragons from before. Long Tuesday. Seeing the steaming medicine, Yi Baiming's good-looking eyebrows wrinkled. However, the little wild kitten was watching covetously from the side. Yi Baiming had to bite the bullet and drink a few mouthfuls. When it entered his mouth, he found that the medicine was not bitter. It had a sweet taste and there was a trace of joy between his eyebrows. Yun Sheng saw it clearly from the side. She secretly despised him in her heart. How old was he? Still afraid of bitterness. In her mind, she couldn't help but recall the scene when Yi Baiming refused to take the medicine when he was 6 years old. As the memory jumped into her mind, Yun Sheng's heart skipped a beat. When did she start to silently remember Yi Baiming's preferences? After drinking the medicine, Yi Baiming fell into a deep sleep as expected. Yun Sheng had woken up. He could finally sleep in peace. After tucking Yi Baiming in, Yun Sheng didn't feel sleepy and simply walked out. Not long after Yun Sheng left, a black fighting energy appeared around Yi Baiming, who was lying on the bed. The fighting energy was dense and dense, forming the shape of a strange demonic beast. The moment the demonic beast appeared, Yi Baiming's wounds healed at a speed visible to the naked eye. Yun Sheng, who had already stepped out of the room, was completely unaware of all this. After sleeping in the room for a day and a night, when Yun Sheng walked out of the room, she realized that it was already pitch black outside. It was nighttime. Yun Sheng looked around and realized that she was in a private residence. This seemed to be an exquisite courtyard where a rich person lived. Presumably, this was Yi Baiming's temporary stronghold in Tianyi City. How much wealth did this guy have to be able to purchase such a luxurious residence in Tianyi City, where every inch of land was worth gold? Yun Sheng was extremely unbalanced. If she had known earlier, she wouldn't have rejected Yi Baiming's gold coins. "Miss Yun, this is your magician's robe and magic scepter." A person stood not far from the door. Chapter 653. Long Hua of Wandong Gambling House was still holding a clean set of elf mage robes. Actually, Long Hua had already secretly checked the situation in the room just now. At that time, Yun Sheng was checking on Yi Baiming's wound and did not pay attention to the situation outside. It was already dark outside the room, and the illumination magic array in the room emitted a gentle light. The man was already sound asleep, and the woman's eyes were lowered as she meticulously bandaged his wound. At this moment, time seemed to have stopped. Their appearances were already unparalleled in the world, and at this moment they looked even more beautiful. Long Hua felt his eyes moisten, and he could not bear to break this beautiful scene, so he waited outside. Yun Sheng raised her head and saw Long Hua. "It's you? Manager Long? You and him?" Yun Sheng suddenly understood that the legendary mysterious behind-the-scenes boss of Wandong Gambling House was actually Yi Baiming. "Miss Yun, Lord Baiming is our fourth Long's master." There were 3 people behind Long Hua, and they were Long Shui, Long Feng, and Long Tuesday. These 4 people were all Yi Baiming's confidants and his right-hand men. That day, when his seriously injured master carried Miss Yun back, Long Hua already understood his master's feelings for Miss Yun. The master that Long Hua knew was a very cautious person. He had never told anyone else about his plans all these years except for young Master Cheng and young Master Bu. Not to mention bringing her back to the stronghold. Since his master was willing to bring Miss Yun back, it meant that he had tacitly agreed that Miss Yun was the future mistress. Since his master had chosen the woman, Long Hua also decided that Yun Sheng was his future mistress. His master was finally willing to find a woman. Thinking of this, Long Hua felt emotional. He found Yi Baiming when Yi Baiming was 7 years old. At that time, his master was an almost autistic child. He lived in seclusion in the cold palace and did not smile. Long Hua obeyed Empress Li's orders and secretly taught Yi Baiming magic and martial arts. His master grew at an astonishing speed. But as he grew older, Long Hua felt that his master was less like a child. He didn't cry or throw a tantrum. He was shockingly calm at all times. This situation continued until Master was 9 years old. That year, Master suddenly disappeared. Long Hua had searched the entire Jade capital but could not find any clues. Just as Long Hua was reprimanding himself for failing to fulfill his responsibilities, about a year later, his master suddenly returned to Jade capital. When the master returned, he had already regained his sight. What was even more different was that Long Hua saw something different in his master's eyes. Master seemed to have come alive all of a sudden. In the next few years, Master acquired Wanlong Gambling House and gradually began to have his own power. As a subordinate and also an elder, Long Hua couldn't help but mutter in his heart that he should find a woman for his master. There was once when Long Huo wanted to persuade his master to accept Long Shui. After all, back then Long Shui was personally selected by his master. Long Tu thought that his master could accept Long Shui. However, his master didn't agree and even reprimanded him. Although Long Huo was reprimanded, he still didn't give up. He probed many times and looked for many women. From young girls to young married women, Long Huo could be said to have looked for all kinds of women. But without exception, his master rejected all of them. Long Huo started to worry that his master had gotten too close to young Master Cheng and young Master Bu and contracted some bad habits. Fortunately, at this time Miss Yun appeared. Long Huo finally saw a hint of something unusual from his master. "Master, it turns out that you still like women." Long Huo looked at Yun Sheng with almost worshipful eyes. Yun Sheng felt goosebumps from his inexplicable gaze. "Steward Long, if there's nothing else, I would like to walk around." Yun Sheng was very interested in Yi Baiming's courtyard. The Yun residence had already moved, and Yun Sheng was also considering purchasing a new residence. After all, after she graduated from the mainland's elite magician camp, she had to choose a place to stay. The layout of her residence in Channy City was very good. "Miss Yun, feel free to walk around. If there's anything you need, just let me know." Long Huo was very tactful and immediately retreated. The night was just right. Yun Sheng walked around the courtyard and carefully observed her surroundings. She discovered that there was a secret hidden in this courtyard, and there were large numbers of soldiers lying in ambush everywhere. The magic array here was also set up very cleverly. Yun Sheng suddenly noticed a very unfriendly gaze. Long Shui was staring at Yun Sheng. "You'd better stay away from Master." Yun Sheng frowned. This wasn't the first time Long Shui had provoked her. "You should say this to your master." Yun Sheng had a look of ignorance. "You're not worthy of Master." Long Shui stopped Yun Sheng. She didn't know what Long Hua and the others were thinking, but Long Shui would never acknowledge Yun Sheng's identity. "What mistress?" As long as Master didn't marry, Long Shui would never acknowledge any woman. "Get out of the way." Yun Sheng was also annoyed. Long Shui pulled out her magic scepter and aimed it at Yun Sheng. But the moment she was about to pull out the magic scepter, Yun Sheng's hand grabbed Long Shui's hand with incomparable precision. Long Shui was about to resist, but she found that her wrist was numb, and there was a pain between her thumb and index finger. The magic scepter was snatched away. Yun Sheng was playing with Long Shui's magic scepter in her hand. The whole process was like a magic trick. Yun Sheng didn't ignore Long Shui's unharmed hand. If she remembered correctly, the reason why the two dragons withdrew was because Long Shui was attacked. It seemed that Long Shui had already developed disloyalty and betrayed Yi Baiming. Yun Sheng didn't mind helping Yi Baiming teach his disloyal subordinate a lesson. "You're called Long Shui, right? Don't forget, if I can kill Lu Qingqing, I can kill you." Long Shui's heart turned cold. She didn't forget that when Long Tu came back, she smacked her lips. Long Shui, who had never been good with words, danced with joy as she recounted the results of the finals in August. Yin Emperor killed Lu Dao. The tyrannical Lu Dao, both of them died. Lu Qingqing's corpse couldn't even be found. All the rumors about the Yin Emperor from before were self-destructed. What Yin Emperor? The Emperor was the main force and Yin was just a mage in charge of defense. It was all nonsense, all lies made up by this seemingly harmless woman in front of her. After understanding this point, Long Shui shuddered. It turned out that all of this was planned by Yun Sheng. She was probably pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger from the beginning. What water elven mage, it was all a pretense. Whether it was Lu Qingqing or her, they were all deceived. The seemingly beautiful and harmless girl in front of her was actually such a shrewd and despicable person. Master was deceived by you. What Long Shui hated the most was that Master fell in love with such a woman. She didn't deserve to be their mistress. "You like Yi Baiming?" Yun Sheng caught the jealousy in Long Shui's words. Chapter 654. What a good Yi Fox, he gave this old lady another name for no reason. Yun Sheng felt sour in her heart. She thought to herself that Night Fox was really popular. These women, were they all blind? What was so good about that guy? Since young, he was a cunning and black-bellied person, and he killed without blinking. If one were to talk about his good points, it was just that he was a little better looking than the average man, and he also had a little more money than the average person. One Chenliener was not enough, and there was also Long Shui. The female students of the elite camp all liked him like ants seeing honey. Yun Sheng was sour, but in terms of words, she was not at a disadvantage. His taste is really heavy. That master of yours, there are not many women in the world who can stand him. Yun Sheng let go of Long Shui. You are not allowed to speak ill of Master. Master is the best man in the world. Long Shui bit her lips. She hated why Master would like a woman like Yun Sheng. She originally thought that Yun Sheng was a harmless woman like a little white rabbit. Long Shui did not know that this woman was not only shrewd, but also had a vicious mouth. If a man does not like you, his good or bad has nothing to do with you. Yun Sheng laughed coldly. Yun Sheng's words were like a sharp blade, piercing Long Shui's heart until it was dripping with blood. Yun Sheng was right. Master did not like her. His kindness, his gentleness, all of it was only for one person. Long Shui stood dazedly in the darkness, not saying a word. After being disturbed by Long Shui's matter, Yun Sheng did not have the mood to look around. She simply returned to her room. On the bed, Yi Baiming was still sleeping soundly. This night quietly passed. It was not until the sun was high in the sky that Yi Baiming woke up. It had been a long time since he slept so deeply. It seemed that he had not slept like this since his mother had died. Yi Baiming turned over and sat up. His movement startled Yun Sheng, who was lying in front of the table. "Have you recovered from your injuries?" Yun Sheng asked with sleepy eyes. She walked forward and checked. She found that Yi Baiming's injuries had really healed. "This is incredible. Your self-healing ability is even scarier than the Octopus Queen." Yun Sheng checked Yi Baiming's wounds. She magically found that the wounds on Yi Baiming's body, which she had thought would take half a month to heal, had all disappeared in one night, leaving only a dark red mark. If nothing unexpected happened, this mark, it would disappear tomorrow. Last time, when she fought against Lu Qingqing's beastified Sea Octopus Queen, Yun Sheng thought that she had already seen the most abnormal self-healing ability. But now, compared to Yi Baiming, she realized that compared to Yi Baiming, the Sea Octopus Queen's self-healing ability could only be considered average. At least, the Octopus Queen was torn to pieces by the astral winds. "Yi Baiming, did you fuse with some kind of beast blood when you were young? Or did you eat some kind of heavenly treasure? Otherwise, why is your physique so special?" Yun Sheng did not give up. Her little hands were still restlessly touching Yi Baiming's chest. She did not notice that when her hands brushed past Yi Baiming's chest, a strange red light appeared on Yi Baiming's face. Damned little wildcat. Did she know how alluring she looked right now? Yi Baiming felt his lower body tighten. His body unconsciously remembered the feeling of holding Yun Sheng in his arms a few days ago. Yun Sheng had just woken up. Her hair was fluffy, her eyes were watery, and her red lips were slightly pouted. She looked very seductive. Yi Baiming had no choice but to grab Yun Sheng's hand. His voice was a bit hoarse. "This prince does not know if your physique is special or not. But if you keep touching, this prince will be very happy to do something special with you." Yi Baiming's obviously suggestive words frightened Yun Sheng. She immediately shut her mouth and withdrew her hand. She was as obedient as a primary school student. It was said that male animals always had strong needs in certain areas when they woke up in the morning. Yun Sheng did not dare to put it into practice. She was really useless. She couldn't even handle a 17-year-old boy. Yun Sheng despised herself in her heart. Something appeared in her hand. Yun Sheng took a look and saw that Yi Baiming had stuffed something into her hand. It was a piece of water-blue, crystal-like soul stone. This stone contained unprecedented magic power from the sea. You were holding this stone in your hand when you were unconscious. If I'm not wrong, it should be a soul stone. Yi Baiming handed Yun Sheng the soul stone that Yun Sheng had obtained from Qiu Qingqing's stomach during their fierce battle earlier. Qiu Qingqing had obtained this dissimulation soul stone back then, which was why she had such a special physique. The soul stone of the Seagull Queen? Yun Sheng's heart skipped a beat. She remembered that the little water sprite queen did not have her own magic scepter so far. If she could make this soul stone, which was full of water magic power, into a magic scepter and give it to the little queen, her magic application would definitely reach a higher level. At the end of this monthly competition, she would definitely get a lot of prize money. She could go to the treasure boat to buy some materials for a magic scepter and refine an elven magic scepter for the little queen to use. Last night, because Yi Baiming was still injured, Yun Sheng did not have the time to ask further. "By the way, what was the result of the competition between you and Feng Tian that day?" "Feng Tian lost," Yi Baiming said casually. However, Yun Sheng believed that the competition must have been extremely thrilling. Failure was definitely unacceptable to the extremely proud Feng Tian. Yun Sheng did not expect that her incident would affect many people. Among them was Feng Tian. The failure of this competition was a huge disaster for Feng Tian. "Gu Feng, have you checked clearly? Are you sure that Feng Tian's injuries have healed?" In the inn where Elder Helion was staying, Elder Hellion pulled Gu Feng with an anxious expression. It had been 2 days and 1 night since the duel between Yi Baiming and Feng Tian. But Feng Tian, thinking of the competition that day, Elder Hellion could not help but be moved. Apart from being happy, there was also a hint of melancholy in his heart. Yi Baiming and Feng Tian were both top geniuses. Both of them could be directly listed as star cadets. In the past, even one such cadet was a priceless treasure. However, the mainland elite camp now had 2 of them all at once. Unfortunately, a mountain could not accommodate 2 tigers. In the competition between Yi Baiming and Feng Tian lost in the end. That was a competition between the top geniuses. Although the whole process of the competition only lasted for 15 minutes, it was still a competition between geniuses. The competition between Yi Baiming and Feng Tian was really unprecedentedly tragic. Even now, Elder Hellion could still remember the events of that day clearly. Chapter 655. When Elder Hellion received the news that Yi Baiming and Feng Tian were going to compete, he hurried over to the Skywings arena. Most of the students from both camps had also rushed over after hearing the news. They wanted to see for themselves which of the 2 strongest people from both camps was stronger and weaker. On the arena, the 2 young geniuses stood facing each other. Elder Hellion and Elder Yu both broke out in cold sweat. Elder Yu laughed dryly. Elder Hellion, who do you think will win and who will lose in this duel? This duel looked like an ordinary one, but in reality, it was the duel that both camps were most concerned about. From the moment Yi Baiming and Feng Tian entered the Skywings arena, this duel was bound to happen sooner or later. There were 2 conditions for the duel between the Magic Elite Camp and the Warrior Elite Camp. One was that one of them would become the king of combat, and the other was that one of them would break through first. However, Feng Tian and Yi Baiming were the current holders of the highest winning streaks in their respective camps. Whoever lost this duel would lose the king of combat, and the winner would have a very good chance of becoming the king of combat. Moreover, Feng Tian and Yi Baiming were both well-known figures in this generation's elite camp, so the 2 elders were very concerned about the outcome of this duel. Even the other students from the elite magician camp and the elite warrior camp had all rushed over. Qi and Gufeng were also watching from the sidelines. This duel had tugged at everyone's heartstrings. Yi Baiming and Feng Tian, one using combat techniques and the other using magic. Like 2 fierce tigers, the moment the referee announced the start of the duel, the 2's momentum was like a sudden clap of thunder. Dazzling magic and new combat techniques. The 2 left the ground at the same time and fought in the air. For a moment, the audience was dazzled, unable to tell who was stronger and who was weaker. About a quarter of an hour after the duel started, the 2 were locked in a fierce battle. Suddenly the situation took a turn. Feng Tian started chanting and a gray light flashed on his magic scepter. A magic chain as thick as an arm suddenly appeared and wrapped around Yi Baiming. 2 gray lines represented the secondary magic attribute, space-time magic. High up in the sky, everything suddenly stopped. The wind in their ears, the clouds in the sky. Yi Baiming was unable to move and could only be slaughtered. The students of the elite camp were all dumbfounded at this moment. Even Elder Yu's expression couldn't help but change. No also didn't expect that Feng Tian, who was only a saint magician, would actually know profound magic, space-time seal. It looked like Yi Baiming was bound to lose. In the air, Feng Tian looked arrogantly at the immobile Yi Baiming. He wanted to defeat the geniuses of the elite camp in front of everyone. From today onwards, there would only be one genius in the elite camp, and that was Feng Tian. You won't be able to move. No one below the martial sage realm will be able to break my space-time seal, Feng Tian said proudly. Space-time seal was his profound magic. He boasted that he was a genius because he had comprehended his own profound magic when he broke through to the Saint Magician realm. Although the effect and range of this profound magic was very small, it was enough for Yi Baiming, who was only 10 meters away. I want to use magic to shatter your chest in front of everyone. If you don't want to die, you can beg for mercy. Feng Tian raised his magic scepter and used the sharp end of the scepter to draw a cross on Yi Baiming's chest. Feng Tian's magic scepter was fused with a small amount of purple gold and was incomparably hard. It could even break a high-grade armor, let alone a mere body of flesh and blood. Oh, if you want to hear me beg for mercy, then come closer. I don't want to beg for mercy in front of so many people. Although his body was restrained, Yi Baiming still had a satisfied expression on his face, as if he was just looking at the scenery in the sky. Death was at hand and he was still afraid of losing face. Feng Tian snorted. He was not afraid that Yi Baiming could do anything. Pressing the end of the magic scepter against Yi Baiming's chest, Feng Tian moved closer. Yi Baiming's voice lingered in his ears. Let me tell you a secret. This king was able to crack your profound magic when I was 11 years old. Feng Tian was shocked, and the magic scepter in his hand pierced Yi Baiming's chest. He did not believe that it was impossible for someone to break through the space-time seal. There was a distortion in the air, and the magic chains on Yi Baiming's body all shattered with a bang. He was not afraid of Feng Tian's magic scepter and took a step forward. A beast-like light flashed in his eyes as he walked forward step by step. Feng Tian seemed to have seen the most unbelievable thing. At that moment, Yi Baiming was like a terrifying magical beast, completely unafraid of pain. It was as if he was already a sky magician. However, Feng Tian realized that his feet suddenly could not move. This feeling was as if someone had cast a space-time seal on him instead. Impossible, this was absolutely impossible. For the first time, fear surged in Feng Tian's heart. However, from the eyes of the spectators in the spectator seats, they did not notice anything strange about Feng Tian at all. Yi Baiming smiled cruelly. Fresh blood dripped from his chest. It was just a spell that could break through the space-time seal. What was there to be proud of? This king had already learned it when he was 7 years old. Bang! A punch landed on the bridge of Feng Tian's nose. Feng Tian only felt intense pain. His face looked as if it had opened a soy sauce shop, and blood and snot gushed out. Yi Baiming did not use his battle energy. He actually punched Feng Tian again and again. This punch is to teach you a lesson for looking down on a little wild cat. This punch is to teach you a lesson for offending this king. This punch after punch, Yi Baiming only stopped when Feng Tian could not take it anymore and begged for mercy. At that time, Feng Tian had already been beaten until he did not look human anymore. Yi Baiming kicked Feng Tian down from the sky and landed face first on the ground. Yi Baiming's chest was bleeding non-stop, but he did not fall down. The competition ended just like that. Except for Feng Tian, no one knew what these two geniuses said to each other. Bring Feng Tian back immediately. Elder Hellion turned pale with fright. Yi Baiming's punch was astonishing, and his strength was even more powerful than Elder Guiyu's. Master. Silong rushed forward and Long Shui wanted to go forward to help Yi Baiming. Go to the Hidden Night Pavilion. Yi Baiming's face was a little pale, and he ignored the concerned Elder Yu and the others. In front of a group of mainland magic elite camp students with complicated expressions, Yi Baiming left with Silong. Elder Hellion immediately asked Gu Feng to give Feng Tian emergency treatment. After the examination, even Elder Hellion, who was used to seeing storms and waves, could not help but complain. Yi Baiming was really ruthless. Chapter 656. Yi Baiming's punches didn't seem like much, but they were all aimed at the vital parts. Although the injuries didn't seem serious, they were actually the most difficult to treat. Gu Feng's light magic and Elder Hulian's magic potions took an entire day and night to treat Feng Tian. According to Gu Feng, Feng Tian's life was no longer in danger, but after waking up, Feng Tian didn't say a word and just sat there. It was the same for a few days, which made Elder Hulian's hair stand on end. He was the one who brought Feng Tian out for training. If something really happened to Feng Tian and a good seedling was destroyed, he didn't know how to explain it when he returned. He was deeply afraid that this rare genius of the continent's magic elite camp would be beaten silly. If that happened, everything would be ruined. Feng Tian, a failure is nothing. Only by intervening and facing failure directly can one become a true powerhouse. Elder Hellion advised earnestly and nagged Feng Tian every day. However, Feng Tian didn't listen to a single word he said. Elder, he's really fine. At most, he can't forcefully use magic for these few days. Everything else is fine. Gu Feng was also in a terrible fix. These few days things really kept happening. Not only Feng Tian but even Yun Sheng was missing. When he asked Dong Huanglinger, she only said that Yun Sheng met an acquaintance and had something to do at the last minute, so she couldn't come back. She looked very worried. Gu Feng was also worried. However, Dong Huanglinger refused to say where Yun Sheng had gone. Elder Hellion even asked him to face Feng Tian's weird temper every few days. Gu Feng felt vexed just thinking about it. After being urged by Elder Hellion, Gu Feng had no choice but to follow Elder Hellion to check Feng Tian again. When the two entered the room, they found that there was no one in the room. Where did Feng Tian go? Gu Feng and Elder Hellion looked at each other. Feng Tian was wandering aimlessly in Skywing City. He lost. Since he was a child, he had never lost. But this time he had completely lost. He had lost to Yi Baiming in front of everyone. Feng Tian couldn't accept all of this. Every day when he closed his eyes, he would remember the scene of his defeat. Yi Baiming's words were like a shadow that couldn't be driven away. When he was 11 years old, he was already able to break the space-time seal. How could that be? That was his profound magic, the profound magic that he was so proud of. But in front of Yi Baiming it was worthless. It turned out that there was such a huge gap between him and Yi Baiming. Who is this? Isn't he the #1 genius of the magic elite camp, Feng Tian? Feng Tian passed by a restaurant. A few people walked out from inside. Leading the group was Qin Lianer and a few female magicians. Feng Tian ignored him and walked over. Feng Tian, stop right there. Qin Lianer was in a bad mood. For that stone, she had been dealing with Tianidong for a long time. That lecherous pervert had been using all sorts of excuses to invite her out recently. Whenever they met, he would try to get his hands on her. Qin Lianer could only be perfunctory for the sake of his power. Today it was the same again. Tianidong asked her out for a meal and took advantage of the alcohol to grope her. Qin Lianer only left after getting him drunk. Coincidentally, she met Feng Tian at this time. Qin Lianer and Feng Tian. Speaking of which, Qin Lianer's seniority was 3 years earlier than Feng Tian's. According to normal seniority, Feng Tian had to respectfully address Qin Lianer as senior sister. However, because Feng Tian's strength was outstanding, he had never looked at the senior sisters and senior brothers of the continent's elite camp. Previously he was strong, so everyone tolerated it. But recently he had been defeated by Yi Baiming. The students of the continent's magic elite camp began to talk behind his back. Moreover, Feng Tian had recklessly injured Yi Baiming. Qin Lianer had long wanted to teach him a lesson. Now that she had the opportunity, she naturally wouldn't miss it. As long as she suppressed Feng Tian, she would be the #1 person in the continent's magic elite camp in the future. She winked at the female magicians on both sides. The 2 female magicians understood and blocked Feng Tian's path. Everyone in the magic elite camp knew that Feng Tian had been seriously injured and couldn't use magic power for a short period of time. Feng Tian, how dare you ignore senior apprentice Sister Chen when she calls you? We've wanted to teach you a lesson for a long time. You're just a newcomer. What are you so arrogant for? The 2 female magicians, one on the left and one on the right, provoked Feng Tian verbally. Feng Tian was still expressionless, as if he couldn't see or hear at all. Seeing that Feng Tian was indifferent, one of the 2 grabbed Feng Tian's magic scepter and handed it to Qin Lianer. You're just a piece of trash. Why do you need a magic scepter? Qin Lianer looked at the 4 soul stones on Feng Tian's magic scepter and mocked. Take it back. Feng Tian lowered his head, and his voice was terrifyingly low. Come and take it if you have the ability. Qin Lianer was full of confidence with the bracelet in her hand. Moreover, Feng Tian couldn't use magic power at all. Qin Lianer mocked and released a wind sickle. The wind sickle scraped across Feng Tian's cheek, and a scar immediately appeared on his face. Feng Tian's head was still lowered. He clenched his fists, but he couldn't gather any magic power in his body. Restrain him. Qin Lianer ordered the 2 female magicians to restrain Feng Tian and forcefully drag him into an alley behind the restaurant. She played with Feng Tian's magic scepter and pressed the body of the scepter against Feng Tian's chest. Her beautiful face was full of resentment. Feng Tian, you can only blame yourself for hurting Yi Baiming. That man isn't someone you can touch. In Skywing City, apart from the Skywing Arena, one couldn't kill people at will. However, Qin Lianer was confident that she had Skywing East's support and wasn't afraid of killing someone. She wanted to make Feng Tian disappear completely before he recovered. Feng Tian snorted. I heard that man was once your fiancé? It's a pity that you broke off the engagement at the last minute. Shut up. Qin Lianer hated it the most when people mentioned her marriage with Yi Baiming. It's not up to you to lecture me on my matters. Qin Lianer had already regretted countless times. Back then, she was young and insensible and coveted the position of crown prince consort, which was why she gave up on Yi Baiming. Qin Lianer also attributed Yi Baiming's indifference to her breaking off the engagement back then. Qin Lianer believed that Yi Baiming still had feelings for her. It was only because of that little bitch Yun Sheng's seduction that Yi Baiming was distant and cold to her. Feng Tian had touched her taboo. She was furious and ruthlessly stabbed the magic scepter into Feng Tian's chest. The scepter pierced through Feng Tian's chest without any resistance. Feng Tian was only a mage, and his physique couldn't compare to Yi Baiming's monstrous physique at all. Qin Lianer's stab was clearly to kill Feng Tian. Once Feng Tian died, the continent's elite magic camp would probably put the blame on the continent's elite warrior camp and Yi Baiming. A special event in the small theater. In the dead of night, Night Fox looked at a certain wild cat affectionately. Little wild cat, it's late at night. Everyone's rolling in the sheets. Should we also do something special? For example, canvassing for votes for Big Fuzzy. Chapter 657. Lian, did you hit him too hard? He seems to be dead. The female sorcerers on both sides were a little afraid when they saw Feng Tian fall to the ground. Usually they would ostracize the newcomers at most, but they had never killed their colleagues with their own hands. If the elders found out about this, they would probably be expelled from the mainland's elite sorcerer camp. What's there to be afraid of? Feng Tian offended many people. It's not a big deal that he was assassinated on the streets. Qin Lian did not care. Feng Tian was arrogant. When he was competing in the arena, his attacks were also extremely vicious. He had injured many opponents early on, so it was not rare for him to be killed. She carefully pulled out Feng Tian's magic scepter and wiped the blood off it. Then she checked Feng Tian's breath and confirmed that he was dead. She then left the scene calmly with the two girls. What Qin Lian did not know was that her earlier actions had all been seen by a certain person in a certain room of the restaurant. That person was sitting by the window and holding a wine cup in his hand. He was a middle-aged man in his 40s with a beautiful beard. He was neither tall nor thin, and his eyes were majestic. Sitting opposite him was Steward Chu. There's actually such a murder in Tianyi City? The middle-aged man looked at Feng Tian, who was lying on the ground. Blood was still seeping out from under Feng Tian's body. Soon he would lose too much blood. At that time, even the divine medicine would not be able to save him. He had some appreciation for the young man. Just now, at the critical moment of life and death, the young man did not have the slightest intention of begging for mercy. That woman is from the mainland's elite sorcerer camp. It must be an internal struggle. Steward Chu frowned unhappily. She also recognized Qin Lian as the woman who had appeared in the treasure boat earlier. She just did not expect that she would act so delicate in front of the eldest young master, but she was such a ruthless person behind the scenes. If such a person really married into the City Lord's mansion, the City Lord's mansion would probably be in chaos in the future. Steward Chu was already thinking in her heart that no matter what, she could not let Qin Lian cheat that stone from the eldest young master. Fine, since we've seen it, let's go save that young man's life. The middle-aged man's figure flashed. It was unknown what kind of movement technique he used, but he had already moved from the third floor to the dark alley in an instant. So this is what death feels like. When Qin Lian stabbed the magic scepter into Feng Tian's chest, he could feel his life force slowly draining away. When he completely fell into darkness, Feng Tian felt a chill around his body. However, just as Feng Tian thought that he would lose his life on the streets today, a strong do qi entered his body. His heart, which had stopped beating, started beating again. When Feng Tian woke up, he saw two unfamiliar faces. This man and woman were obviously not ordinary people. Feng Tian could not recall when he had met such people. One of the middle-aged men had just retracted his palm from his body. Just now, the one who had sent internal energy into his body was this man. Why did you save me? Feng Tian's first sentence was not gratitude. Instead, it had a hint of resentment. He had been defeated by Yi Baiming in front of countless people. Feng Tian only felt that he had lost all his face and did not want to live in this world anymore. Otherwise, even if he had lost all his magical power, Qin Lian would not have been able to succeed so easily. The beautiful woman at the side was displeased. What kind of tone is that? The City Lord personally saved you and you actually dare to question him? In Skywing City, only the City Lord of Skywing City could be addressed as the City Lord. Feng Tian could not help but look sideways. You're the City Lord of Skywing City, Skywing Venerable? The City Lord of Skywing City was very famous on the continent. He and Elder Guiyu of the continent's warriors' elite camp were known as the two great martial emperors of the continent. It was rumored that both of them were already peak martial emperors and could break through to the martial god realm at any time. However, because he did not appear on the continent all year round, there were very few people who had seen Skywing Venerable. It was also very difficult for Feng Tian to associate the middle-aged man in front of him with the famous Skywing Venerable. How dare you call the City Lord by his name without permission? The beautiful middle-aged woman who accompanied Skywing Venerable was Steward Chu of the treasure boat. The City Lord of Skywing City's whereabouts were erratic. Not long after he returned to the city, he learned that his eldest son, Skywing Tua, had gotten drunk in a restaurant. He had originally brought Steward Chu with him to denounce him. Who knew that he would encounter such a scene? It's fine. The city lord of Skywing City waved his hand. Young man, your injuries are not serious, but you have the heart to die. Tell me, why don't you want to live anymore? When the city lord of Skywing City was treating Feng Tian, he had already noticed that Feng Tian's cultivation was very astonishing at such a young age. As long as this young man persevered, he would definitely become one of the top sorcerers on the boundless continent in the future. I've lost. Feng Tian has never tasted defeat in his life. Since I've lost, I no longer have the intention to live an ignoble life. Feng Tian hung his head dejectedly. Victory and defeat are common in war. If you lose this time, you just have to win the next time. Skywing Venerable could not help but find this young man's temperament amusing. I can't win. That person is too strong, Feng Tian blurted out. If Yi Baiming was just an ordinary warrior, Feng Tian still had absolute confidence that he could defeat him in the future. However, the words that Yi Baiming said in his ear that day made Feng Tian shudder. As early as the age of 11, he could break the profound magic spacetime seal. Yi Baiming was definitely not a scammer. Not only was he a warrior, but he was also a sorcerer. Yi Baiming was actually a dual cultivator of magic and martial arts. When he realized this, Feng Tian's last bit of confidence was completely shattered. Oh, maybe I can give you some pointers. You're a sorcerer. Maybe there's a place where you can obtain higher magical power, the Skywing City Lord said in Feng Tian's ear. When Feng Tian heard this, a few small wrinkles appeared between his brows. Is what the City Lord said true? Of course it's true. When you break into that place, you'll understand. After saying that, Skywing Venerable did not say anything else and disappeared into the alley with Steward Chu. Feng Tian was deep in thought. Just as Feng Tian was deep in thought, he felt the Dharma soul in his body suddenly become active. Feng Tian was puzzled. After carefully examining it, his expression suddenly became joyful. He was very familiar with this feeling. Breakthrough. He was about to break through. The bottleneck of breaking through to become a sky mage had been stuck in a stalemate for 2 years, but Feng Tian had suddenly comprehended it in this accident. It was likely that he had an epiphany after experiencing life and death and a crushing defeat this time. The timing of a breakthrough was extremely important. If he missed it, he might have to wait even longer. Feng Tian did not dare to hesitate any longer. He immediately sat down cross-legged and meditated in the secluded alley outside the bustling city. Chapter 658. 4 to 6 hours later. Elder Helion and Gu Feng, who had been searching the city for half a day, finally found this area. Elder Helion felt a wave of magical energy. Someone is about to break through, and this feeling? Elder Helion stopped in his tracks when he passed by the alley. The magical energy came from the alley, and the power was no small matter. It was clearly a sign that someone was about to break through to become a sky magician. Gufeng, let's go into the alley and take a look. Elder Helion took the lead and rushed into the alley. In the alley they saw Feng Tian in the midst of breaking through. Elder? This is? Gufeng had a suspicious look on his face. Elder Helion's mouth was wide open when he inspected the items. He then laughed heartily. The heavens are helping me. Feng Tian actually broke through. The first person to break through in the mainland's elite camp this time was actually Feng Tian. According to the agreement made by Elder Helion and Elder Yu after they had arrived at Skywing City, the students of the 2 elite battalions who won this trial would obtain the right to speak in the next mission to search for the divine artifact. There were 2 conditions for winning. First, which camp would become the Martial King, and second, which camp would have someone break through first. Feng Tian was originally the one with the most hope of breaking through among the students of the mainland's elite camp, but because of Yi Baiming he was dispirited and was almost destroyed. Elder Helion originally thought that he would definitely lose this time, but who knew, it was really a blessing in disguise, a blessing in disguise. Elder Helion laughed heartily and hurriedly ordered Gufeng to wait at the side. This time, Feng Tian broke through from the evening to the morning of the second day. When the rooster crowed, a ray of light appeared above Feng Tian's head. The Dharma soul in his body shone brightly. Feng Tian had successfully broken through to become a sky magician. Feng Tian, good job. Elder Helion had been waiting anxiously for a long time. Seeing Feng Tian break through, he was so happy that he danced with joy. He could already foresee the beautiful scene of Elder Yu humbly becoming his subordinate. Second Elder, Feng Tian intends to give up on the competition in the Earth Wings competition zone and enter the Sky Wings competition zone. After Feng Tian's breakthrough, his entire temperament was slightly different. There was less arrogance in his eyes and more steadiness. It looked like he had gained enlightenment overnight. Feng Tian's first sentence after breaking through shocked Elder Hellion. He had just broken through, and he wanted to join the Skywings division? Oh, Feng Tian, don't force yourself. The experts in the Skywings competition zone are much stronger than those in the Earthly Wings competition zone. Even Yi Baiming might not be able to gain much of an advantage in the Skywings competition zone, Elder Hellion advised. Feng Tian has already decided. Feng Tian recalled the place that Venerable Skywing had mentioned. Only by experiencing a life-and-death struggle in the Skywings competition zone would he be able to go to that place. Only by going to that place would he be able to obtain enough strength to defeat Yi Baiming. But to enter that place, just as the Venerable Skywing had said, he had to be able to fight against a Beast King-level magical beast. Feng Tian still has one more request. Feng Tian doesn't want anyone to know about his breakthrough for the time being, including the other students of the continent's magic elite camp. It was just that Feng Tian refused to listen to him no matter what. In the end, Elder Hellion had no choice but to agree to Feng Tian's request. After that day, Feng Tian seemed to have become a different person, and he was completely focused on the competition in the Skywings competition zone. Qin Lianer and the others were shocked to see that Feng Tian was not dead. It was just that Feng Tian did not seem to remember what had happened in the alley, nor did he look for them to settle the score. This made Qin Lianer and the others breathe a sigh of relief. After staying in Yi Baiming's courtyard for a few days, Yun Sheng's body had basically recovered. During this time, Yun Sheng had also refined the Sea Octopus Queen's soul stone that she had obtained from Lu Qingqing's body. Unlike the soul stones that had just fallen off the body of a magical beast, a soul stone that had already recognized its master had a very strong magical repulsive force and could not be used lightly. Fortunately, Yun Sheng had the unique elven hellfire, which quickly washed away the repulsive force of the soul stone. The Sea Octopus Queen's soul stone, a peak rank 9 sea beast. When Yun Sheng touched the soul stone, she had already recognized its origin. She had thought that the soul stone had been torn apart by the hurricane. If not for the mysterious Enigma stone on the treasure boat, Yun Sheng might have chosen to use this sea beast soul stone as the fourth soul stone on her magic scepter. However, with the Enigma stone, Yun Sheng felt that the Enigma stone with its mysterious power was more suitable to be embedded on the Enigma scepter. Little Queen, I have a gift for you. Yun Sheng summoned the little water fairy queen. The little queen blinked her big blue eyes and wrinkled her little nose. Is it fruit wine for me? Hearing this, Yun Sheng coughed a few times. The little queen's alcohol tolerance was ridiculously high. She had already drunk only a few bottles of the fruit wine she had brought over from the immortal residence. Take a look. Isn't this magic scepter better than the wine? Yun Sheng took out the magic scepter she had just refined. It was an almost transparent magic scepter made of jade. The top of the magic scepter was refined into the shape of a star. It looked very much like a fairy wand. At the top of the magic scepter, there was an aqua blue soul stone embedded. What a beautiful magic scepter. The little queen fell in love with this magic scepter at first sight. Even with the picky eyes of the elves, it was difficult to find any flaws in this magic scepter. She hesitated, her watery eyes filled with disbelief. You're really giving it to me? Although the little water fairy queen had followed Yun Sheng, she still refused to believe in humans from the bottom of her heart. However, Yun Sheng's actions had gradually moved her. This human had taken her out of the immortal residence, given her delicious fruit wine, and such a beautiful magic scepter. The little queen loved the magic scepter so much that she couldn't bear to part with it. After holding it in her hands for a long time, she tilted her head and looked at Yun Sheng. Then what do I need to do for you? Elves were very simple-minded. They would think of ways to repay what others had given them. When Yun Sheng was refining the magic scepter, she really didn't think of getting anything from the little queen. However, since the little queen had asked, she would be a fool if she didn't seize the opportunity. A magic scepter in exchange for 500 years of unconditional help from you and your people. As soon as Yun Sheng said this, the night demon queen who had been on her magic scepter, almost spat out a mouthful of old blood. This was too ruthless. To let the little queen who had top-level water magic, help her unconditionally for 500 years. Master was really the best of the profiteers. Chapter 659. The little water spirit queen was the one who would inherit the spirit throne in the future. Having the little water spirit queen was equivalent to having the power of the water spirit clan. 500 years, that seems a little long. The little queen felt that something was wrong. However, she couldn't tell what exactly was wrong. 500 years is actually very short. Think about it, you've been sleeping in the immortal Holy Grail for 500 to 1,000 years, right? Yunxing guided her patiently. Besides, I'm a human. A human's life is very short. Maybe after 100 years, you can regain your freedom ahead of time. Deal, then I'll help you unconditionally for 500 years. In order to not violate their agreement, the little water spirit queen even signed a magic contract with Yunxing. Just like that, Yunxing used a soul stone in exchange for the absolute loyalty of the little water spirit queen, who had the strongest water healing ability in the continent. Yunxing returned to the inn. Dong Huanglinger, who had been anxiously waiting for a long time, couldn't help but tear up when she saw her. Just yesterday, Linger was suddenly sent back by someone, and Yunxing's whereabouts were also unknown. At that time, Linger was vague and only said that Yunxing was taken away by Yi Baiming. When Qi heard the news, he immediately went to look for Yunxing, but was stopped by Linger. She repeatedly promised that Yunxing would return in a few days. In order to prevent Yunxing from feeling awkward, Qi resisted the urge to ask Yi Baiming. Are you really okay? Dong Huanglinger pulled Yunxing and checked her up and down. After making sure that her friend didn't lose an arm or a leg, she was relieved. Alright, here's a letter for you. Dong Huanglinger handed a letter to Yunxing. Yunxing opened the letter and saw that it was written a few days ago. It was a letter written by Zhou Qingchuan himself. The letter clearly stated that he would personally go to Skywing City. The letter also mentioned that Zhou Qingchuan had inherited the position of the Everlasting Chamber of Commerce's president last year. Yunxing was a little embarrassed that the president of the Everlasting Chamber of Commerce would take time out of his busy schedule to come here. Big brother Zhou is coming? After Yunxing and Chuyu established a cooperative relationship, they thought of using the Everlasting Chamber of Commerce to solve Skywing City's medicinal herb transportation and some of their financial problems. Although Yunxing had won the competition this time, it could be said that she had narrowly escaped death. If Yi Baiming had not forced the Hidden Night Pavilion to take action, she would probably have died from exhaustion of her magic. This also made Yunxing realize that she was severely lacking in strength. In the past, Yunxing's life had always been smooth sailing because she had the help of the summoning hand and a bunch of magical beasts. Even when she met a strong opponent like the Elven Queen, she had never been at a disadvantage. However, after losing the Beast Speech Ring, Yunxing strongly realized that she was not powerful enough. Therefore, she decided to get an advance payment from Zhou Qingchuan to buy the special Enigma Stone. A few days later, an unfamiliar empty ship was sailing in the sky, riding the wind and breaking the waves. The sharp, blade-like bow of the ship cut through the clouds in the sky. On the empty ship, the flag of a chamber of commerce was fluttering in the wind. The two words everlasting were very eye-catching. On the deck of the empty ship, the wind was very strong. Zhou Qingchuan, the youngest president of a chamber of commerce on the continent, faced the wind and looked into the distance. Inside the cabin, several stewards of the Everlasting Chamber of Commerce were looking at President Zhou with reverence. Zhou Qingchuan had risen to prominence 4 years ago. He was originally an orphan of a branch of the Chamber of Commerce. But in a single night, he had arrested the uncle who had falsified the accounts and eliminated several other forces in the Chamber of Commerce with lightning speed. Last year, the previous president, the Zhou family's patriarch, had personally handed over the position of president to President Zhou. After that, he had passed away. Today, President Zhou's words were everything in the Everlasting Chamber of Commerce. After President Zhou took office, he wantonly expanded the scope of business. Under his leadership, the Everlasting Chamber of Commerce had become even more powerful than before. This made the stewards, who were originally unconvinced by him, no longer dare to say anything. But when he expanded the business to Skywing City, all the stewards were shocked. The reason why President Zhou made this decision was because of a letter he had received half a month ago. At this moment, the letter was in President Zhou's hands. It had been nearly 4 years since he had seen Yunxing. Zhou Qingchuan's gaze retracted from the boundless sea of clouds and fell on the letter. Yunxing's handwriting was very clear on the letter. In his mind, the scene of the last time the two of them had met appeared. I wonder what Yunxing looks like after not seeing her for 4 years. Zhou Qingchuan's mouth revealed a long-lost smile. Ever since he had returned to the Everlasting Chamber of Commerce, he had not smiled for a long time. When the stewards in the cabin saw this scene, they all clicked their tongues in wonder. Reporting to the president, Skywing City is just ahead. Good. Zhou Qingchuan put away the letter. His heart could not help but beat faster. Soon, he would be able to see the person that he had been yearning for day and night. In the inn, Yun Sheng put down the letter and hurriedly said goodbye to Dong Huangling. She then went to the city gate to welcome Zhou Qingchuan. Counting the days, the letter said that Big Brother Zhou would arrive in Skywing City this afternoon. The news of the Everlasting Chamber of Commerce's airship arriving in the sky above Skywing City immediately reached Steward Chu's ears. Steward Chu? Skywing City and Skywing City have never interacted before. Do we need to inform the City Lord's mansion about the Everlasting Chamber of Commerce's arrival? No need. The City Lord has just returned, so not many people know about it. The Everlasting Chamber of Commerce is the continent's #1 Chamber of Commerce. We must not neglect them since they have come to Skywing City. Steward Chu brought along a few capable assistants and walked towards Skywing City's gate. As the airship landed, Zhou Qingchuan's footsteps could be heard. Just as he landed, he heard a pleasant greeting. Big Brother Zhou, why have you come personally? Yun Xing quickly found Zhou Qingchuan in the crowd. After not seeing him for 4 years, Zhou Qingchuan looked the same as before. He had a warm smile on his face, making people easily have a good impression of him. Zhou Qingchuan's current status was completely different from when Yun Sheng had first met him. He was no longer the descendant of a branch family who was bullied in the family. In just 4 years, he had already taken control of more than half of the Everlasting Chamber of Commerce's businesses. He had already grown into the #1 figure in the family, second only to the patriarch. Yun Sheng did not know that a large part of the reason for Zhou Qingchuan's change was because of Yun Sheng. He had fallen in love with Yun Sheng at first sight. However, he knew in his heart that as a merchant he was not worthy of Yun Sheng. Therefore, in the past 4 years he had grown rapidly. Now, Zhou Qingchuan's eyes and actions carried the boldness of a tycoon. In the 3 years that Yun Sheng had been missing, Zhou Qingchuan had not been able to eat or sleep in peace. This was the first time he had received a letter from Yun Sheng after nearly 4 years. Therefore, when he received the letter, he was wild with joy. Regardless of the many matters at hand, he personally escorted this batch of medicinal herbs to Skywing City. When he heard Yun Sheng's voice, Zhou Qingchuan hurriedly turned his head. Chapter 660. Under the sunlight, a white-clothed girl was smiling at him. Tall and charming figure, jet-black hair, mischievous eyes, and 2 small dimples when she smiled. The girl was Yun Sheng, not Yun Sheng. When the sunlight met her, it seemed to dim a lot. After not seeing each other for 4 years, Zhou Qingchuan had dreamed of Yun Sheng countless times in his sleep. However, he had never dreamt of such a realistic person before. Yun Sheng was more charming than he had imagined. A look and a smile could captivate people's souls. Zhou Qingchuan was even reluctant to blink. He was afraid that if he blinked, Yun Sheng would disappear. Big Brother Zhou, why are you dumbfounded? Only when a faint fragrance came over did Zhou Qingchuan come back to his senses. He coughed a few times. I've let you see a joke. I haven't seen you for so long that I couldn't recognize you for a while. Yun Sheng didn't notice his gaffe. She went to check the medicinal herbs and elixirs that Zhou Qingchuan had brought this time. As expected of the Everlasting Chamber of Commerce, the scale of the empty ship was 10 times larger than Elder Hulyen's. The elixirs that Zhou Qingchuan had brought this time were all from the little Ci Entong. After checking, Yun Sheng confirmed that the elixirs on this ship could at least offset the consumption of the Skywings arena for more than a month. This time she must catch the Hidden Night Pavilion unprepared. Yun Sheng had already inquired. The competition between her and Lu Qingqing had caused the Hidden Night Pavilion to suffer heavy losses. Yellow Knight Emissary himself had also disappeared. Right now, the Yellow Wings arena was like a no-man's land. It was the best time for Yun Sheng to infiltrate. After checking, Yun Sheng walked out of the empty ship. She saw that there were a few more people where Zhou Qingchuan was standing. The leader was Steward Chu. Is this President Zhou of the Everlasting Chamber of Commerce? Steward Chu came with a group of assistants. When he saw the unprecedented scale of the empty ship loaded with a large amount of goods and medicinal herbs, his eyes couldn't help but light up. As the most capable assistant of the Skywing City Lord, Steward Chu had been vexed over how to control the transportation of goods in Skywing City for many years. Although Skywing City was wealthy, there weren't many empty ships for the transportation of goods. If they could establish a cooperative relationship with the continent's #1 Everlasting Chamber of Commerce, the prices of goods and the lives of the people in Skywing City would be greatly improved. Big Brother Zhou, Steward Chu. Yun Sheng walked forward. Seeing that Yun Sheng and Zhou Qingchuan were very familiar with each other, Steward Chu was shocked. She had long guessed that Yun Sheng's background was not simple. Ever since Lu Qingqing was defeated by Flame Emperor Dai, Steward Chu thought that Yun Xing must be from a magic family. But today, it seemed that she also had a close relationship with the everlasting Chamber of Commerce. She was just a little girl in her teens. How could she be so capable? Manager Chu was shocked, but he didn't dare to underestimate Yun Xing. Zhou Qingchuan was indeed a businessman. He chatted with Steward Chu for a while and also discussed Yun Xing's intention to sell medicine in the city. I have long heard about the Hidden Night Pavilion raising the price of elixirs and controlling the contestants in the arena. Miss Yun can first experiment in the Yellow Wings competition zone. If the situation is good, I will report to the city lord and allow little Ci Entong to practice medicine and sell medicine in Skywing City. Steward Chu was very astute. Although the Hidden Night Pavilion was temporarily at a disadvantage, they had been running amok in Skywing City for many years. A strong dragon couldn't fight a local snake. However, she couldn't directly refuse Yun Sheng. Firstly, Yun Sheng was related to whether her daughter, Chu Yu, could become the person in charge of the Yellow Wings competition zone in the future. Secondly, the Hidden Night Pavilion was powerful and difficult to shake. Yun Sheng and Zhou Qingchuan could clearly see Steward Chu's intention to watch the tigers fight from a distance. However, both of them were smart people. No one was willing to say it out loud. After Steward Chu confirmed Zhou Qingchuan's purpose in coming, he let the empty ship enter the city. Yun Xing hosted a banquet to entertain Zhou Qingchuan. After eating and drinking to their heart's content, Yun Xing said somewhat embarrassedly, "Big brother Zhou, I am in a bit of a hurry. Can you lend me 5 million gold coins first? You can just go to little Ci Entong to withdraw the money." Yun Xing wanted to use the 5 million gold coins to buy that enigmatic stone. Thinking about it, this was the second time she and Zhou Qingchuan met. It seemed that every time they met, she was aiming for the other party's money. After leaving the treasure boat last time, Yun Xing promised that she would raise 5 million gold coins within a year. However, in order to avoid any unforeseen circumstances, Yun Xing decided to buy the stone first. Zhou Qingchuan saw Yun Sheng's awkward expression and smiled. Zhou Qingchuan was generous. Without asking, he gave Yun Sheng a piece of everlasting purple gold. Yun Sheng, after parting this time, I don't know when we will meet again. If it's possible next time, I hope. Zhou Qingchuan was very eloquent. Usually in the business world he would speak human language when he saw ghosts. However, when facing Yun Sheng, especially when the other party stared at him with those dark eyes, Zhou Qingchuan felt that he was stuttering. "What do you hope?" Yun Sheng asked. "I hope that you can give me a chance. Don't treat me as a big brother, but as a man." Zhou Qingchuan finally spoke clearly. However, Yun Sheng's mind was thinking about the stone on the treasure boat. Seeing that the other party didn't understand his words, Zhou Qingchuan couldn't help but sigh. Perhaps in this life he could only be Yun Sheng's big brother. "Yun Sheng, it's getting late. Big brother Zhou will go and settle his subordinates first. We will talk about it in detail tomorrow." Seeing that Yun Sheng's face was full of worries, Zhou Qingchuan could only take his leave. Yun Sheng didn't think too much about it. She took the everlasting gold card that she had just received and excitedly went to the treasure boat. Who knew that when Yun Sheng arrived at the treasure boat and asked around, she actually found out that the stone had been bought by someone else. "Miss Yun, this is all my fault. That stone should have been taken off the shelf, but due to the negligence of the staff, it was taken by another customer." Steward Chu looked embarrassed. She gave him a brief account of what had happened. When Yun Sheng heard this, she knew that this matter couldn't be blamed on the treasure boat. Skywing Tua was the eldest son of the Skywing City Lord. After all, Steward Chu was only a servant of the City Lord's residence. Since the stone had been taken away by force, she had no other choice. "It's just that I don't know if the eldest son gave the stone to that lady after the incident. If he did, you can only look for that lady." Steward Chu's face was full of regret. "Can you tell me the name of that lady? That stone is very important to me." The thing that Yun Sheng was most worried about had indeed happened. She suspected that the other party wasn't an ordinary person. It was very likely that the other party had also discovered the uniqueness of that stone. "I found it. The lady who visited that day is called Chen Liener." Steward Chu checked the records and found Chen Liener. Yun Sheng frowned. It was actually her? Could it be? Yun Sheng remembered that the magical wave on Chen Liener's body was very similar to the magical wave on the stone that she had seen earlier. Chapter 661. "Miss Yun, are you going to find that lady?" Manager Chu saw that Yun Sheng's face was still cloudy. Yun Sheng smiled bitterly. If it were someone else she might have a way, but the stone was in Chen Liener's hands. Qin Lianer hated Yunxing the most. Yunxing was a little unhappy that she didn't buy the stone. At this time Chuyu walked in. When she saw Yunxing's ugly expression, she asked about what had happened. Skywing expansion? Him again. When Chuyu heard this name, a layer of sullen anger appeared on her face. It was my carelessness. If I had known, I would have left a deposit. Yunxing just didn't expect that there would be people fighting over such an unremarkable stone. If an ordinary person heard that a stone was worth 5 million gold coins, they would probably explode on the spot. No, since my mother promised you, she will definitely do it. Don't worry, I will take care of this matter. Chuyu was very loyal. I know where Skywing expansion is. Wait here, I'll go find Skywing expansion and get the stone back. Chuyu didn't say anything else and turned to walk out. Yunxing couldn't even stop her. Sai, this child still has that temper. Manager Chu looked worried. Miss Yun, I have important matters to attend to right now and can't chase after you or go stop her. Once elder sister Yu goes over, she'll be like a lamb entering a tiger's den. Manager Chu had an anxious look on his face. When Yunxing asked, she found out that Skywing expansion was the eldest son of the Skywing City Lord. This person was about 30 years old and was a famous playboy. When they were in the City Lord's residence, he had always tried to take advantage of Chuyu. In order to avoid Skywing expansion, Chuyu left the City Lord's residence and took the initiative to ask to join the Skywing arena as a referee. I'll go stop her. Yunxing immediately went out. Yunxing's footsteps were fast, but Chuyu's footsteps were even faster. In the blink of an eye, she disappeared. Yunxing's face was filled with anxiety. She could only ask the staff on the treasure boat. However, no one knew where Chuyu had gone to look for her. After Chuyu left the treasure boat, she went to several restaurants and tea houses in the city and asked door to door. Skywing Tower, that silk pants, only knew how to fool around in these few places all day long. Chuyu asked around and indeed found out that Skywing Tower had opened a small private room in one of the restaurants. Right now he was waiting for someone. Heaven's Wing Tower, hand over that stone. Chuyu kicked open the door. Heavenly Wing Tua had an appointment with Chen Lianer today and was waiting for the little beauty to come. Being disturbed like this, he was about to get angry, but when he saw that it was Chuyu, he chuckled and stared straight at Chuyu. I was wondering who it was. You've made this young master suffer. Skywing Tower was 10 years older than Chuyu. Chuyu had been a servant of the Skywing City Lord's residence since she was young, and Skywing Tower had beaten and scolded her in the past. However, when Chuyu reached the age of 13 or 14, her appearance became even more attractive. Skywing Tower had always wanted to take her as a concubine, but Steward Chu had always stopped him, so Skywing Tower had never succeeded. Steward Chu had been forced into a corner and could only send Chuyu to the Skywing arena. Since then, Chuyu had avoided Skywing Tower as much as possible. After all, in terms of skill, Chuyu was still no match for Skywing Tower. Heavenly Wing Tua, show some respect. The City Lord has just returned. Do you want me to tell him everything you've done these past few days? Chuyu glared at him. Upon hearing the name of the Skywing City Lord, Skywing Tower indeed restrained himself a little. Skywing Tower had run amok in Skywing City, and the only person he avoided was the Skywing City Lord. If his father were to know of his hedonistic behavior, he would lose a layer of skin no matter what. Chuyu, what are you pretending for? You're just relying on the fact that your mother and my father have an affair. Do you really think that the Skywing City Lord's residence is the world of you mother and daughter? Skywing Tower looked at such a delicious piece of fat meat in front of him, but he couldn't eat it. It was as if a cat was scratching his heart, making him very uncomfortable. I can't be bothered to reason with you. Hand over that stone, and I can consider not telling anyone about the things you've done. Chuyu snorted. She felt disgusted at the sight of Skywing Tower. What stone? Oh, you're talking about that 5 million stone. Let me tell you that stone is used by this young master to fish for women. If you want it, it's not impossible. Just come to the villa obediently and find me. Skywing Tower had a salivating smile on his face as he sized up Chuyu. In order to play with women and not let his tigress know, Skywing Tower had secretly built a villa in the city. Every time there was a new product, he would bring it to the villa. Fang Banian, Chuyu and Chen Lianer were completely different types. Chen Lianer was a typical well-bred young lady. She looked delicate and made people want to love her tenderly. Chuyu, on the other hand, was like a thorny rose in full bloom, making people want to get close to her. Of the women Skywing Tower had played with for so many years, only these two were the most outstanding. He even had crooked thoughts of taking these two beauties into his pocket. When the time came he could play with them left and right. Just thinking about it would be a wonderful thing. Skywing Tower's words angered Chuyu so much that her face turned red. Her angry appearance in Tianidong's eyes was even more incomparably moving. This hedonistic young master was unable to restrain himself for a moment and moved his stinky mouth to kiss her. Get lost. Chuyu slapped him across the face, making Skywing Tower dizzy. You damned woman, you dare hit this young master. Catch her for me. I'll deal with her here today. Skywing Tower was enraged and wanted to grab Chuyu. Just then the door was knocked open. Steward Chu brought several capable subordinates of the Skywing City Lord and barged in. It turned out that after Yun Sheng couldn't find Chuyu, she hurriedly returned to the treasure boat. Steward Chu was worried that something would happen and immediately went to the City Lord's residence to find reinforcements. She reproached Skywing Tower's personal servant and found out that Skywing Tower was here today. As soon as she arrived, she heard Skywing Tower's angry curses. You are. Steward Chu grabbed her daughter and coldly looked at Skywing Tower. Eldest young master, are you trying to force us mother and daughter to death? Steward Chu, you old. Skywing Tower's face was ugly. He wasn't a fool. Steward Chu was his father's confidant. Even if he had more guts, he wouldn't dare to do anything to Steward Chu. The two sides were in a deadlock. Suddenly, a delicate voice probed from the side. Eldest young master, what's wrong with you? Qin Lianer walked in. Seeing Skywing Tower's appearance, she hurried forward and comforted him in a soft voice. Steward Chu saw this and slightly frowned. He took the opportunity to pull Chuyu away. Skywing Tower was in a fit of anger. Qin Lianer observed his expression and secretly sneered in her heart. Just now she had already been in the corridor. When she saw Chuyu angrily charge in, she didn't rush in. Instead, she went to the side room next door to sit and watch the show. Chapter 662. Qin Lianer had been in the hallway for a long time. When she saw Chuyu angrily charge in, she didn't rush in. Instead, she went to the adjacent room to watch the show. Hearing that the other party had also come for the stone, Qin Lianer couldn't help but be on guard. After comforting Skywing Tower with a few words, his mood was clearly much better. Eldest young master, who was that mother and daughter just now? How dare they behave so atrociously in front of you? Qin Lianer asked. They're just a pair of servants from the Skywing City Lord's residence. That damned mother and daughter of the Chu family. Skywing Tower rubbed his chin. That slap from Chuyu just now was truly ruthless. Since they're servants, how dare they be so arrogant? I see that eldest young master likes that woman very much. Why not just let the City Lord bestow a marriage? That old woman, Steward Chu, would never agree. She and my father have a close relationship. My father listens to her very much. Skywing Tower also wanted to do that. He had long since lost interest in that tigress of his family. He hadn't slept with her for many years. If he could marry Chuyu, he would be overjoyed. Unfortunately, with Steward Chu here, the Skywing City Lord would never agree. Eldest young master, why are you so slow? Normally she wouldn't agree, but if you and that girl have already cooked rice, Steward Chu would have no choice but to agree. You're saying? Impossible. Chuyu is very clever. If it weren't for that stone today, she wouldn't even be willing to come near me. The eldest young master rubbed his cheek. Then why don't I help eldest young master? Lian, are you? When Heavenly Winged Tua heard this, he immediately forgot about the slap just now. I'm willing to help eldest young master facilitate this beautiful matter. Eldest young master only needs to give that stone to Lianer after it's done. Qin Lianer had a vicious plan in her mind. She couldn't be bothered to deal with Skywing Tower. If she could use Chuyu to divert his attention, then she could get that stone. Wouldn't that be even better? Lianer, if you really succeed in this matter, this young master will definitely give you the stone. Heavenly Winged Tower had a lewd smile on his face. First take Chuyu, then Qin Lianer. These two beauties, he would take them both. The next day, Qin Lianer came to the Skywing Arena's Yellow Wings area. Chuyu walked down from the arena. Lady Chu, Qin Lianer walked over with a smile. You are. Chuyu didn't recognize Qin Lianer. I am Qin Lianer, a contestant from the Earth Wings competition zone. Qin Lianer looked at the situation in the Yellow Wings competition zone. At first glance, she was quite surprised. When she had first arrived at the Heaven's Wings arena, someone had said that the Yellow Wings division was the least valued of the 4 divisions, but today she found that the Yellow Wings division was very lively. The number of spectators was no less than that of the Earth Wings competition zone. The contestants from the two divisions can't overlap. If you want to participate in the Yellow Wings Division's competition, you'll have to go to the Earth Wings Division to cancel your contestant qualifications, Chuyu said in a businesslike tone. I didn't come because of the competition. I heard that Miss Chu wants the stone in eldest young master's hand. Qin smiled. Do you know the whereabouts of that stone? Chuyu was still fretting over how to get that stone back. Her mother had already warned her not to provoke Heaven's Wings, but she still wanted that stone back. I know where Heaven's Wings hid the stone, but it's not convenient to talk here. Tonight, come find me at Sunspring Restaurant in the city, and I'll discuss it with you in detail, Qin said very sincerely. Chuyu glanced at Qin, still weighing the reliability of her words. Chuyu thought about that stone again. Okay, we'll meet again tonight. When Qin left, Yunsheng happened to walk over with Zhou Qingchuan. Qin saw Yunsheng and walked over disdainfully. When she saw Qin, Yunsheng frowned and called Chuyu to the side. Sister Chuyu, be careful of Qin. That person isn't anything good. It looks like you two have some history? Chuyu saw that when the two brushed past each other, sparks flew in each other's eyes. It's not really a history. She's Zhou State's former Crown Prince Consort and XX Crown Prince Consort, Yunsheng said vaguely, roughly recounting the grudges between Yi Baiming and Qin, as well as the past few years. Even though she played it down, the sharp Chuyu still smelled some jealousy in it. So you two are jealous of Lord Baiming? Chuyu took the opportunity to tease Yunsheng. Yunsheng scolded and pretended to be angry. Who has time to care about his business? He's just a promiscuous fox who flirts everywhere. One Qin, one Long Shui, each of them extremely charming, and there were also those women in the elite camp who adored him. Yunsheng's heart was filled with anger when she heard this. It was rare for Chuyu to see Yunsheng's feminine side, and she was secretly amused. Chuyu glanced at Zhou Qingchuan, who was waiting not far away, and thought to herself, Yunsheng probably hasn't realized that her own charm is completely different from Lord Baiming's. Chuyu always felt that although Yunsheng was young, she was terrifyingly mature and shrewd. She wondered what kind of parents and family could raise such a child. She had seen Lord Baiming before, and he was destined to be an extraordinary man. When Yunsheng was unconscious, Chuyu even personally went to watch the competition between Lord Baiming and Feng Tian. That competition was soul-stirring. Feng Tian was completely defeated. Although Lord Baiming, who defeated Feng Tian, was seriously injured at that moment, it was as if he was the god of war. Such an unyielding man would only reveal different feelings towards Yunsheng. But then again, Lord Baiming was outstanding, and Yunsheng was also one of the best women. Perhaps only such a man and woman could be paired together. I know. That woman has been very close to Skywing Tower recently. Don't worry, I'll pretend to be close to her. If she dares to plot against me, I won't let her off easily. Did you come here today to find me for something? Chuyu was thinking of a way to teach Qin a lesson. What kind of person was Chuyu? How could Qin plot against her, since she had made it to where she was in the Skywing arena? Let's talk over there. I want to introduce someone to you. Yunsheng knew that Chuyu was quick-witted and wouldn't easily fall for Qin's tricks. Chuyu had already noticed the young man that Yunsheng had brought with her. The man was in his 20s, a few years older than Chuyu. This person didn't have any obvious fighting aura or magic power around him, so he definitely wasn't someone from the arena. But his appearance gave him an imposing aura, especially his eyes, which revealed the shrewdness of a merchant. Chuyu didn't know what Yunsheng was selling. Chapter 663. After Flame Emperor won the monthly double competition, he would be able to participate in the monthly competition at the end of the year. Chuyu suggested that Yunsheng and Donghuang Ling should try their best to compete in the individual competition. After all, it would be easier to obtain the title of Fighting King through the individual competition. Therefore, during this period of time, Yunsheng and the others only came to participate in the individual competition. When they came to participate in the competition, Yunsheng noticed that the number of spectators in Competition Zone 9 had increased by a lot. However, because of the venue, a lot of people were unable to enter the competition zone. Big Sister Yu, this is Everlasting Chamber of Commerce's President Zhou. Big Brother Zhou, this is Big Sister Chuyu that I told you about before. She has always been taking care of me. Yunsheng brought Zhou Qingchuan over to introduce Zhou Qingchuan to Chuyu. Due to the lack of funds, Chuyu's plan to expand the competition zone was much slower than expected. Currently, the reconstruction of the first, second and third competition zones would take several months. Thus, the ninth competition zone was the best time to expand. When Yun Xing saw Zhou Qingchuan, she immediately thought that Zhou Qingchuan was the best investor. Both Chu Yu and Zhou Qingchuan were smart people. With one of them introducing Yun Xing, the two of them had a very pleasant conversation. Soon, Zhou Qingchuan agreed to invest a portion of the funds for the expansion of the ninth competition zone. With the support of Everlasting Chamber of Commerce, Zhou Qingchuan was certain that the expansion of the ninth competition zone would be completed in 10 days. Yun Xing's help this time helped Chu Yu solve a big problem. Chu Yu secretly decided that she must help Yun Xing get that stone back. After sending off Zhou Qingchuan and Yun Xing, Chu Yu called out to Yun Xing. "Big sister Yu, what do you need that medicine for?" Yun Xing had a curious expression on her face. "Just give it to me. I have my own uses for it." Chu Yu smiled and didn't say anything. Yun Xing quickly found the medicine and gave it to Chu Yu. At night, Chu Yu arrived at the restaurant early as per her promise with Chen Liana. She wasn't in a hurry to keep the appointment. Instead, she first found a waiter in a restaurant and used 2 gold coins to inquire about some information. This afternoon, Skywing Expansion had arrived at the restaurant and booked 2 rooms. The room that Chen Lianer had arranged with Chu Yu was prepared by Skywing Expansion. Chu Yu was unhurried as she walked to another nearby room. There was still half an hour before her appointment with Chen Lianer. Chen Lianer came early. The moment she entered the room, she called for the waiter and took out 2 packets of medicine. Later, put this packet of medicine into the cup of the girl in front of me. There was another bag of medicine here, which was put into the wine and food of the young master next door. Once the matter is settled, these 100 gold coins are yours. That shop assistant nodded and bowed as he retreated. Chu Yu heard everything clearly from the side and sneered. Half an hour later, Chu Yui arrived. Joy flashed across Chen Lianer's face. "Lady Chu." Chen Lianer hurriedly stood up and invited Chu Yu to sit. Chu Yu exchanged a few pleasantries with her and quickly brought the topic to the stone. Chen Lianer asked innocently, "May I know why Lady Chu wants that stone?" "I have a friend who likes to collect all kinds of strange stones." When Chu Yu said this, there was a knock on the door. The waiter came in with wine and food. Chen Lianer snuck a glance and happened to see Skywing Expansion's clothes slip into the private room next door. Chen Lianer understood tacitly. She casually chatted a few more times, but couldn't find out who the friend Chu Yu mentioned was. Skywing Expansion had been waiting next door for a long time. Chen Lianer understood that if she wanted to keep her innocence and obtain that stone, she had to do as Skywing Expansion wished. She snuck a glance at Chu Yu and thought to herself, "You're a member of the Skywing City Lord's residence anyway. You should thank me for helping you become the young mistress." Skywing Expansion had pursued Chen Lianer for so long, but she had always been playing hard to get. Counting the hour, Skywing Expansion should have already drunk the extra wine and food she had prepared for him. Chen Lianer and Skywing Expansion had been together for a long time. That playboy good temper of his had been completely worn away. He had already made a promise. Today either Chen Lianer complied with him, or Chu Yu served him. Otherwise, Chen Lianer could forget about obtaining that stone for the rest of her life. Thinking that she would be able to obtain that stone soon, Chen Lianer couldn't help but reveal a joyful expression. "Lady Chu, you and I hit it off at first sight." Lianer salutes you. Chen Lianer raised her wine cup. Chu Yu didn't suspect anything and drank the wine in one gulp. Seeing Chu Yu drink the wine cup, Chen Lianer was very happy. She couldn't wait for the aphrodisiac in Chu Yu's wine to take effect. When the time came, she would send Chu Yu to the room next door and everything would be done. Just as Chen Lianer was feeling proud, she suddenly felt dizzy and her body gradually heated up. The figure of Chu Yu sitting in front of her also gradually became blurry. Chu Yu stood up and helped Chen Lianer up. She handed her over to the waiter waiting outside and sent her into the room next door. Skywing Expansion had indeed been poisoned. When he saw the seductive Chen Lianer, he already couldn't tell who it was and hugged Chen Lianer. Skywing Expansion who had been poisoned, even if a sow was given to him, he would still do it without hesitation. In the room, the ambiguous sounds of a man and a woman were quickly heard. Chu Yu waited outside for a moment and sneered. She turned around and found a waiter. "Go to the city lord's mansion and send a letter to the eldest young mistress. Just say that the eldest young master and a prostitute are doing improper things here." When the waiter heard this, he had a bitter expression. "Miss Chu, aren't you making things difficult for me? If the eldest young master finds out about this, I'm afraid that my job will be gone. Don't worry and go report. Here is a warrant to leave the city and 5,000 gold coins. Take this money and go to the Everlasting Chamber of Commerce's airship. Once you leave Skywing City, you can live happily anywhere in the boundless continent. A cold glint flashed in Chuyu's eyes. Chuyu wasn't a kind person. When Chuyu first saw Qinlianer, she felt that this woman was definitely not someone who knew her place. In addition, with Yunsheng's reminder, Chuyu had long been on guard against Qinlianer. Thus, she secretly monitored Qinlianer's movements. Sure enough, as she expected, Qinlianer had done something behind her back. Chuyu beat her at her own game. Chuyu believed that the word, death, was too simple to deal with a woman like Qinlianer. As a member of the Skywing Arena, Chuyu had plenty of means to make Qinlianer suffer a fate worse than death. The waiter of the restaurant quickly sent the news to the city lord's mansion. What? You're saying that the eldest young master and a prostitute are fooling around in a restaurant? Inside the city lord's mansion, the eldest young mistress, who had a bloody mouth and a body like a water bucket, flew into a rage when she heard this news. She smashed all the teacups and vases that she could reach. Fortunately, her personal maid reminded her to first go to the restaurant and capture that adulterous pair. Only then did the eldest young mistress wake up from her dream. She immediately ordered people to prepare vines and iron chains, and then led a group of servants and guards out of the city lord's mansion. Chapter 664. Qinlian was asking for trouble. How could she have known that the pitiful look she usually used to soften men was an eyesore in the eldest young mistress' eyes? When the eldest young master was in the city lord's residence, he used the excuse of getting drunk to criticize the eldest young mistress for being unromantic and lacking the charm of a woman. With Qinlianer's plea, the eldest young mistress was even more convinced that Qinlianer had used this look to seduce the eldest young master. The eldest young mistress was so angry that she didn't allow Qinlianer to speak. She ordered people to chain Qinlianer up and stuff her mouth with smelly socks. She lifted Qinlianer up like a little chick and dragged her out, not caring that Qinlianer was naked. The eldest young mistress yelled as she dragged Qinlianer, "Everyone come and take a look. See how this little slut seduced my master." She even called herself a member of the continent's magic elite camp. What a cheap face and cheap mouth. When Yunsheng and the others arrived, they just happened to see this scene. News of the eldest young mistress's big move quickly spread throughout the Skywing city. Coincidentally, there was no competition at the moment, so most of the people were having their meals in the city. When they heard the commotion on the streets, they all came out in a sea of people. Along the way, no one dared to persuade her. Isn't that Qinlianer? How did she become like this? A few students from the continent's magic elite camp who had come to watch the commotion were dumbfounded when they saw the person being dragged by the eldest young mistress. To be honest, they had never seen Qinlianer like this. She was completely naked. Her snow-white skin had been rubbed by a few thick iron chains until it was dripping with blood. There was no longer any arrogance on her beautiful face. Her hair was messy and her mouth was stuffed with smelly socks. Her appearance was as ugly as it could be. Ever since Feng Tian of the continent's magic elite camp was defeated, Qinlianer had become the person with the most consecutive victories in the camp. Her status in the hearts of the camp students had also risen. Everyone thought that she was the most likely candidate to become the combat king. Who would have thought that she would appear in front of everyone with this appearance? When her former admirers saw this scene, they all muttered in their hearts. However, no one dared to step forward and argue with the eldest young mistress. After all, her background was not to be underestimated. In Skywing City, the people from the city lord's residence were like local tyrants. One of the students went to look for Elder Hellion in a panic. Qinlianer was gagged and could not struggle. She was dragged to the city gate. Eldest young mistress did as she said. Ignoring Qinlianer's cries and pleas, she hung the naked Qinlianer up like a white chicken and hung her at the city gate for everyone to see. The eldest young mistress even found someone to watch over Qinlianer and forbade anyone from saving her. When the news reached Elder Hellian's ears, he brought a group of students from the magic elite camp to the city gate and saw Qinlianer's appearance. After recognizing Qinlianer, Elder Hellian's expression turned ugly. He ordered someone to go up and negotiate, stating his identity as an elder of the continent's magic elite camp. Only then did the other party go to the city lord's mansion and inform eldest young mistress. Only then did eldest young mistress know that the girl who had hooked up with Skywing's tower was actually a student from the continent's magic elite camp. Humph! A well-nourished student from the continent's magic elite camp actually hooked up with someone else's husband. How could eldest young mistress let Qinlianer off so easily? Eldest young mistress, I will definitely get to the bottom of this matter. If what you said is true, I will definitely not let this student off so easily. Elder Hellion suppressed his grievances and begged in a low voice. Seeing that the other party had already given in, eldest young mistress hesitated. Although Skywing City was famous for its military prowess, the continent's magic elite camp was not to be trifled with. Just then, Steward Chu sent someone to deliver a message. The message was from the city lord. The city lord's meaning was that this matter had already been stirred up and the punishment that should have been taught had already been taught. He asked eldest young mistress not to completely fall out with them. Eldest young mistress weighed the pros and cons before ordering someone to abandon Qinliener. Once the stinky sock was thrown out of her mouth, Qinliener could not stop crying. She wept as she explained. At this moment she also understood that she must have fallen into Chuyu's trap, but she could not figure out how Chuyu had guessed that she would drug the tea. However, Qinliener was in the wrong, so she could not say that she had harbored evil intentions. As such, Qinliener's explanation was full of loopholes, and the more Elder Hellion listened, the more disdainful he felt. What are you still crying for? Take her back. From today onward, she is not allowed to take a single step out of the airship. You have completely disgraced the continent's magic elite camp. Elder Hellion felt a headache coming on. This trial had truly been full of twists and turns. First, Feng Tian had nearly died, and then Qinliener had hooked up with the Skywing's eldest young master. The continent's magic elite camp had completely lost face. Qinliener still wanted to struggle, but several female mages forced her to put on clothes and sent her to the airship. As she was being sent away, she passed through the crowd and heard all sorts of humiliating words. Shameless, seducing a married man. With such looks, it's no wonder the eldest young master was seduced. Ruined. Everything was ruined. Qinliener did not dare to raise her head. She could feel the gazes and public opinion from all directions stabbing into her heart like sharp knives, turning her heart into a bloody mess. She was Qinliener, the noble crown prince's wife. When had she ever been humiliated like this? All along she had been the #1 beauty of Zhou State. Even the crown prince of Zhou State cared for her as if she was his sweetheart. However, here she was treated as the dirtiest existence. Everyone looked at her as if they were looking at a rat in the gutter. What exactly was going on? Everything was originally going smoothly. Feng Tian had been defeated, and she was about to become the #1 person in the continent's magic elite camp. However, all these beautiful dreams were now shattered. Qinliener glanced at a few figures from the corner of her eyes. Her eyes narrowed as she saw Yun Xing, Dong Huanglinger and Chuyu. The three ladies with the same otherworldly appearance and temperament stood together, dazzling Qinliener. At the same time her heart went crazy. She finally understood that the friend Chuyu was talking about was most likely Yun Sheng. Liking to collect strange stones was clearly an excuse. This matter was all a scam. She had fallen into Yun Sheng's trap from the start. Qinliener understood that it must be Yun Sheng. She must have said something to Chuyu. Chuyu Tsai had tampered with his tea. At this moment, Qinliener's heart was filled with regret. She had placed all the blame on Yun Sheng, but it was all too late. Chapter 665. At this moment, Qinliener's heart was filled with regret and hatred. She placed all the blame on Yun Sheng. However, it was already too late. She understood that after today, even if she returned to the mainland's magic elite camp, the entire camp would know about her scandal. After all, her teacher would also despise her because of this. She would no longer be able to be the high and mighty cherry blossom beauty in the mainland's magic elite camp. Qinliener looked at the crowd again. Her pupils contracted intensely. She saw the figure that she had been thinking about day and night. Yi Baiming, he was also standing in the crowd. Dressed in black, he was still dazzling in the dark night. She actually let him see her most unbearable side. Hatred, so much hatred. At this moment, Qinliener felt that her entire world had collapsed. She was so angry that she couldn't swallow her anger and fainted. At the moment before she fainted, a thought flashed across Qinliener's mind. No matter who it was, those who harmed her must all die. Yun Sheng, Chuyu, Tianyi Tua, eldest young mistress, all of them must pay the price. Seeing that Qinliener had fallen to the ground, Elder Hellion had no choice but to order Yun Sheng to go forward and check on her. Yun Sheng, quickly come and take a look. Elder Hellion was also furious. He had already seen that Elder Yu was also watching the show from the side. Qinliener was usually smart, but why was she so unrestrained this time around? This time, when I return to the mainland's magic elite camp, I must definitely punish her severely. Also, her teacher, Xiao, how did she discipline her disciple? Yun Xing went forward and took a look. She discovered that Chenliener was only lacking in blood and qi and was overly frightened. The few female mages sent Chenliener away. Dong Huanglinger, who had been watching the show from the side, saw that everyone had left. She couldn't help but shout, "Evil really has its retribution. This woman, let's see how arrogant she will be in the future." "Big sister Yu, was it you who did it?" Yun Xing only remembered that she reminded Chu Yu to be wary of Chenliener. Why did Chu Yu teach Chenliener a lesson the moment she reincarnated? The evils we bring upon ourselves are the hardest to bear. She only has herself to blame. Unfortunately, we didn't manage to obtain that stone. Chu Yu told them the whole story. Chu Yu originally wanted to find the whereabouts of the stone while Skywing Tua and Chenliener were in a state of delirium. Unfortunately, after searching through Skywing Tuo's clothes, she did not find the maze stone. It seemed that Heavenly Wing Tower still had some brains and did not bring that stone everywhere. Chu Yu had no choice but to think of other ways. After hearing what Chu Yu said, Dong Huangling was filled with admiration and anger at the same time. When she saw Chenliener's appearance just now, she had some sympathy for her. So this woman had only herself to blame. Truly too vicious. Big sister Yu, you are too brilliant. However, how did Chenliener get together with the eldest young master of Skywing City? Dong Huangling had a gossipy expression on her face. Then we should ask the first young master himself. I'm afraid he won't be having a good time now. Chu Yu also found it funny. Eldest young mistress had caused such a huge commotion this time. The news had probably already spread to the city lord's mansion. Second young master Skywing Tua was probably gloating at this moment. Within the Skywing city lord's mansion, the first young master, whose clothes were disheveled, and the first young mistress, whose face was still full of anger, were both kneeling in the main hall. In the main hall, teacup fragments were scattered all over the floor. The Skywing city lord sat on an armchair with an ashen face. "Look at what you have done, you damn brat." The Skywing city lord had just finished his cultivation when he heard of this scandal. He flew into a rage and grabbed the first young master, who was hiding in another courtyard, and brought him back. "Father, you can't blame me for this. It was Chenliener who delivered herself to me. Besides, your son is a normal man. When a beauty throws herself into my arms, how could I possibly reject her?" Skywing Tower's face flushed red as he spoke. Since Chenliener was not present, he could say whatever he wanted. "How old are you? You still can't control that thing in your lower body. Skywing Tua, you will die on a woman's belly sooner or later." The Skywing city lord was so angry that he wanted to slap this brat to death. However, he was his own flesh and blood. Since the matter had already happened, he could only think of ways to repair his relationship with the mainland's magic elite camp. Skywing Tua muttered and glanced at the first young mistress, who was like a tigress beside him. "If you didn't give me such a tigress, would I still need to indulge in debauchery outside?" When the first young mistress heard this, she wanted to wrestle with him. Enough. The Skywing city lord was so angry that he rubbed his forehead. He was really smart all his life, but this time he was stupid. How could he have given birth to such a prodigal son? One of the first young master was a pervert, and the other second young master was a homosexual. If this continued, who knew who would inherit the city lord's mansion's family business after 100 years? "Father, I am speaking from the bottom of my heart." Skywing Tua wrestled with the first young mistress. Relying on his man's strength, he finally restrained the woman with great difficulty. He rolled his eyes and recalled what Chenliener had said earlier. "Actually, it's very simple for me not to be a womanizer. Father, you just have to marry Chu Yu into the family for me, and I guarantee that I will stay at home." "Alright, you shameless one. I knew that you and Chu Yu, that little vixen, were flirting with each other. Nothing good can come out of it." When the first young mistress heard this, she immediately exploded and wrestled with Skywing Tua. "Stop." The Skywing city lord roared angrily. The first young master and first young mistress, who were still entangled with each other, felt a wave of discomfort in their organs. Both of them knew that the city lord was truly angry and hurriedly withdrew their hands. "Master," an old steward at the side advised. "What the first young master said is not impossible. Chu Yu is clever and has been in the city lord's mansion since she was young. She can manage the first young master. As for the first young mistress, please be more tolerant. After all, you are the first young master's legal wife. In the future, even if the first young master has children, they will be under your name." When the Skywing city lord heard this, he also fell into deep thought. He had watched Chu Yu grow up, but Steward Chu had always been very unyielding about the first young master marrying Chu Yu. The first young mistress was also scheming in her heart. If marrying Chuyu could cut off all other women, she was also willing. Moreover, the first young mistress had always had a knot in her heart. This time, even the first young mistress could not do anything to the first young master. The first young mistress and first young mistress had been married for 7 or 8 years and had never had children. After experiencing Chen Lianer, Skywing Tua despised the first young mistress even more. He had long since lobbied the Skywing City Lord to marry another concubine. The Skywing City Lord had been somewhat impatient at first, but after many times, and considering the situation of his 2 sons. The eldest son was dissolute by nature, and he had long since separated from his daughter-in-law. It would be very difficult for them to have children. As for his son, everyone in the Skywing arena knew that he was homosexual. It was even more impossible for him to have children. The Skywing City Lord thought it over and over again. Rather than his eldest son really fooling around with some random woman outside and having children with some impure bloodline, Chuyu was indeed a very good candidate. Chapter 666. This child Chuyu had a clear mind. She was also beautiful and he had watched her grow up. Even if something happened in Skywing City in the future, he would be able to grasp it. Should he let Chuyu marry or not? Seeing the hesitation on his father's and eldest young mistress' faces, the eldest young master knew that there was hope in this matter. He hurriedly went forward. Father, think about it. If Chuyu and I get married, it would be equivalent to acknowledging Steward Chu as my mother. The governor of Skywing City was moved. He and Steward Chu had been entangled all these years. After his 2 wives died, he had never had any thoughts about other women. However, Steward Chu had always refused to accept him because she was afraid that the eldest young master and second young master would be dissatisfied. What Skywing's Tua meant was that as long as the governor of Skywing City agreed to take Chuyu as his concubine, he would approve of him marrying Steward Chu. The governor of Skywing City sighed. Forget it. I will allow you to marry Chuyu as your concubine. However, the etiquette of marrying her must be that of a proper wife. Chulan, oh Chulan. Since you and I could not become husband and wife back then, let our next generation make up for this regret. Inside the treasure boat, Steward Chu already knew the entire course of events that happened during the day. You are too reckless. If the eldest young master finds out about this matter, he will definitely come to pester you again. Steward Chu looked at his daughter, his brows full of worry. This Skywing's Tua was becoming more and more lawless. Mother, do you think that Skywing's Tua still has the ability to investigate this matter? I'm afraid that he is being reprimanded in the residence right now. Chu found it funny. Not good, Steward Chu. A waiter from the treasure boat hurriedly rushed in. There's news from the city lord's mansion. It said that the city lord has ordered for eldest young master to marry sister Chuyu in 10 days. What? The mother and daughter of the Chu family turned pale with fright. They had not expected that today's unforeseen event would have such a turn of events. How could this be? Chuyu was in a daze. The governor had ordered her to marry Skywing's Tua. This nightmare that had haunted her for many years had actually happened. Don't say anything else. Here is some of Mother's secret stash. I've heard that the Everlasting Chamber of Commerce's spaceship will be leaving Skywing City tonight. You can secretly hide on the spaceship and leave this place. Manager Chu's eyes were brimming with tears. She had never thought that the city lord would actually do such a thing. The mother and daughter hurriedly packed up their belongings. Steward Chu took advantage of the night to send Chuyu to the vicinity of the city gate. However, when they arrived at the place where the empty ship was docked, they found a group of city lord's mansion guards searching the empty ship. Steward Chu missed Chu. The guards were on guard and did not allow the mother and daughter to enter the empty ship. Steward Chu forced a smile. Brothers, it's the middle of the night, why are you searching for the Everlasting Chamber of Commerce's empty ships? Reporting to Steward Chu, the city lord has just issued an order to search all the ships entering and leaving Skywing City these few days. The guards methodically inspected the empty ships in the area. After confirming that there were no problems with the empty ships, they let them pass one by one. Mother, it's useless. Chuyu only felt despair. How intelligent was the Skywing City Lord? He had probably long anticipated that Yi Fuqian would flee. Moreover, Chuyu was not willing to abandon Steward Chu and escape by herself. Our mother has let you down. Steward Chu hugged Chuyu and buried her head in tears. If she had not become the steward of the city lord's mansion because of her infatuation with the Skywing City Lord, her daughter would not have suffered such a fate. Skywing's tower was a fickle playboy. If you followed him, she would definitely not have a good life in the future. Mother, all of this is not your fault. If you want to blame someone, you can only blame yours bad luck. The city lord had once said that you was like his daughter. It's a pity that I am not his biological daughter. At the crucial moment, he still chose to side with his playboy son. Chu Yu's face was filled with desolation. She had done her best for the Skywing City Lord's mansion, but what did she get in return? Isn't that big sister Yu and Steward Chu? When the mother and daughter were wiping their tears, Yun Sheng and Dong Huanglinger walked over. Tonight, the empty ship of the everlasting Chamber of Commerce that Zhou Qingchuan was on was about to leave. Yun Sheng was sending him off and happened to pass by. Who would have thought that she would see such a scene? After knowing the whole story, Yun Sheng and Dong Huanglinger's faces were filled with righteous indignation. It's really like a fresh flower being stuck in cow dung. Big sister Chu Yu, you can't marry that kind of person. Although she had never seen Skywing's tower before, when Chen Lianer was caught in bed in the middle of the day, Skywing's tower ran away by himself. This kind of man was simply scum. Linger, you don't know. I can't escape. The power of the Skywing City Lord is not small. Moreover, I have no way of escaping from the Skywing City. Chu Yu's heart was already like dead ashes. Her beautiful face was filled with worry. Yinxing saw this. She lowered her voice and said, Big sister Chu Yu, there might be a turning point for this matter. Let's return to the treasure boat first. When Yunxing said this, Chu Yu and her mother, who were originally in despair, looked as if they had seen a life-saving straw. Especially Manager Chu. She almost knelt down in front of Yunxing. Big sister Chu Yu, persuade Manager Chu first. Let's return to the treasure boat first and discuss this matter. It's not good to talk about it here. Yunxing was embarrassed. She had suddenly thought of this matter in a flash. The four of them immediately returned to the treasure boat. Once they returned to the treasure boat, Manager Chu dismissed his subordinates and impatiently asked questions. Before I tell you the method, I have to ask a few questions. I'll say the ugly words first. No matter what questions I ask, you all have to answer truthfully. Big sister Chu Yu, you must not get angry. Yun Xing coughed a few times. Miss Yun, things have already come to this point. Let's not talk about you asking a few questions. Even if you want me to do anything for you, as long as I can protect you, I'm willing, Manager Chu said sincerely. At this moment, Manager Chu was also muttering in his heart. Could it be that Yun Sheng had a way to reverse the orders of the Skywing City Lord? However, after experiencing the refining incident last time, Manager Chu had more confidence in Yun Sheng. Big sister Chu Yu, then let me ask you first. Are you really unwilling to marry Skywing's tower? Yun Sheng still had to confirm Chu Yu's thoughts. The Chu Yu that Yun Sheng knew was a woman with ambition and tricks. The two sons of the Skywing City Lord's residence were disappointing. With Chu Yu's wit, if she really married into the Lord's residence in the future, she would definitely be able to control the Lord's residence. If you want me to marry him, I'll have to die. Chu Yu did not hesitate at all. Her gaze was incomparably firm as she rejected immediately. Chu Yu was ambitious. However, the things that she wanted were all obtained legitimately through her own efforts. They were definitely not obtained by sacrificing her own body. Chapter 667. A woman's youthful beauty was but an instant. A beautiful woman's bones were but a matter of 10 years. Only with status and absolute power could Chu Yu's position in Skywing City be as stable as Mount Tai. I know you're unwilling. But the city lord has already given the order. What can you do? My poor child, it's all your mother's fault. Manager Chu did not wish to delay his daughter's marriage. But what could she do? To leave Skywing City, one had to pass through the city gates. Even if it was within 100 miles, there was no way to escape. Chu Yu also had some misgivings. She had grown up in Skywing City since she was young and depended on her mother for survival. Even if she could leave this place, how would she survive after leaving? Could it be that she would have to evade Skywing City's wanted list for the rest of her life? Chu Yu and her mother's hearts were in a mess at this moment. Skywing's tower, that playboy, had already announced in the city that Chu Yu was his woman after receiving his father's promise. Thinking of this, Manager Chu's face was full of worry. Chu Yu was a woman after all. Her reputation was the most important. Skywing's tower's actions were equivalent to forcing Chu Yu. Even if this marriage did not work out, it would be difficult for Chu Yu to find a good home in the future. Yun Sheng, I'm not willing to marry Skywing's tower, but my mother and I have no other choice. Chu Yu hated herself for being a woman. If she was not a woman, how could she? If you don't want to marry, then don't marry. Yun Sheng looked at the mother and daughter, whose eyes were red and swollen from crying. Easy for you to say. Chuyu shook her head. It's even easier to do it. All he needed to do was to use a small method. But before that, I need to ask Manager Chu a very personal question. Yun Sheng coughed. Manager Chu was an elder. Yun Sheng was really embarrassed to ask that question. Miss Yun, please ask. As long as it can help you or escape from the evil claws of that bastard Skywings Tower, even if I die, I'm willing, Manager Chu hurriedly asked. How could it be so serious? This question is actually very simple. Did you have a good relationship with the Lord of Skywing City back then? When Yun Sheng asked this question, the mother and daughter of the Chu family were stunned. Chu Yu in particular had no idea why Yun Sheng would ask such a question. Manager Chu's face was so red that it was about to bleed. She muttered in her heart, how could this child speak so boldly? Yun Sheng, my mother and the city lord have always had a relationship of host and guest. How could that be? Chu Yu saw that her mother's face was red from being questioned, and thought that she was angry, so she hurriedly tried to defend herself. Steward Chu, you must think carefully. The answer to this question is directly related to Sister Chu Yu's lifelong happiness. Yun Sheng wasn't embarrassed at all. She was a doctor and had asked all kinds of questions before. Seeing that Steward Chu still did not answer, she asked again, Steward Chu, let me ask you. Back then, did you and the Skywing City Lord have a relationship that went beyond a master-servant relationship? Like the relationship between a man and a woman? Dong Huangling who was at the side became anxious. Manager Chu, answer me. This concerns Big Sister Chu Yu's happiness. Itu. Side, back then, I did have a relationship with the Skywing City Lord. Furthermore, he was my first man. After Steward Chu finished speaking, her face was extremely red. Chu Yu was dumbfounded. She had never heard her mother mention that she and the city lord actually had a relationship. Yun Sheng remembered that Chu Yu had once said that her father was a guard in the city lord's residence and died not long after she was born. Yun Sheng had long suspected that just by looking at Chu Yu's appearance, she knew that Steward Chu must have been a devastatingly beautiful woman when she was young. Even now, Steward Chu was still a beautiful middle-aged woman who still retained her charm. A woman who had accompanied the Skywing City Lord since she was in her teens. Furthermore, the two of them were both upright and young at that time. How could there not be any sparks between them? Therefore, Yun Sheng deliberately confirmed that Steward Chu must have had an ambiguous relationship with the Skywing City Lord. Now that she asked this question today, it was indeed true. A beautiful woman in the prime of her youth who had just lost her husband and had a brave and mighty city lord by her side. Yun Sheng did not need to think too much about what happened next. She could already fantasize about it for a long time. Mother, sigh Yun Sheng, today's matter is my own matter. You don't need to ask any more. Chu Yu saw that her mother was extremely embarrassed and stomped her feet, wanting to stop Yun Sheng from asking any further. Then, Steward Chu, until when did the relationship between the two of you end? Yun Sheng continued to ask. Steward Chu even had the heart to die. She still had to say such an unruly thing in front of her own daughter. But when she thought that this matter might really be related to her daughter's happiness, Steward Chu suppressed her embarrassment and anger. It didn't break. It didn't break. Yun Sheng was stunned. Needless to say, Chu Yu was even more so. What did it mean that it didn't break? Did it mean that from that time until now they had been inseparable? Mother, how could you let father down? Chu Yu was also very angry. She did not expect her mother to be such an unruly person. Sigh, child, this matter is a long story. The city lord and I are not like what you think. He and I are truly in love. As for your father, he also tacitly approves of this matter. Steward Chu sighed. Her relationship with the Skywing City Lord was somewhat similar to the relationship between City Lord Di Hong and Lady Ro. It was just that the Skywing City Lord was not Yuan Cidian. When he and Steward Chu met, both of them were 17 or 18 years old. Steward Chu's ability was outstanding. At that time, the Skywing City Lord had just established Skywing City and needed someone to help him manage it. It was just that at that time he already had 2 wives. Steward Chu was unwilling to be a concubine, but she could not give up her feelings for the Skywing City Lord. The two of them treated each other with respect until one day, when the Skywing City Lord was careless in his cultivation. In order to save him, Steward Chu had sex with him. It was only after that the two of them confirmed their relationship. It was not known how this matter was found out by the Skywing City Lord. She took advantage of the fact that the Skywing City Lord was out to force Steward Chu to marry a guard in the residence. After the Skywing City Lord returned, he flew into a rage and almost wanted to kill that guard. It was only when Steward Chu interceded that the guard was saved. However, that guard was seriously injured in an accident and passed away not long after. At that time, Steward Chu already had Chuyu. After she gave birth to Chuyu, she still had some relations with the Skywing City Lord. Now that the two wives in the city had passed away one after another, the friendship between Steward Chu and the Skywing City Lord continued. However, because their children were already grown up and Steward Chu was a thin-skinned person, the relationship between the two of them was only established on a spiritual level. After listening to her mother's story, Chuyu remained silent. Yunsheng also sighed with emotion. This pair was also an infatuated man and a resentful woman. Chapter 668. To a certain extent, the Skywing City Lord wanted Chuyu to marry Skywing's Tuo as a form of compensation. He wanted to take care of the mother and daughter for the rest of their lives. It was a pity that Skywing's Tuo was not a good person at all. From the incident with Chen Lianer last time, it was obvious that this man was not a good person. Chuyu could not be ruined by him. This is what happened. Miss Yun, you said that as long as I tell you about the past, you can help you, is this true? After Steward Chu said this, she felt relieved. She and the Skywing City Lord were already so unclean in this lifetime. Now that the two madams had passed away, the Skywing City Lord had proposed to marry Steward Chu several times. She had rejected him because she knew that the two young masters in the residence would definitely oppose this. This time, the eldest young master must have used this as a threat to force the Skywing City Lord to relent. Then is it possible that Sister Yu is the City Lord's daughter? Yunsheng probed again. How is that possible? Yunsheng, don't humiliate my mother anymore. Although I was born prematurely, my mother suffered a lot when she gave birth to me. Since young, Chuyu only thought that her father was that guard. Although the other party's status was low and they had never met before, Chuyu only recognized one father. Impossible. I gave birth to the child, so I know it best. Even though I have a close relationship with the City Lord, Chuyu is indeed her deceased father's child. I was pregnant in June. As for her, she was born in December. Although she was born prematurely when I was pregnant with her, the City Lord was not in Skywing City. Steward Chu said with certainty. Steward Chu was not a fickle person. When she was forced to marry Chuyu's father, she was unwilling at that time. However, that guard did not make things difficult for her because of this. When she was ridiculed and condemned by the two madams in the residence, it was that man who used everything he had to protect her. It was also because she was touched by that and despaired of the Skywing City Lord that Steward Chu accepted him. The two of them once had a period of mutual respect. Chuyu was conceived at that time. After having Chuyu, Steward Chu no longer had any relationship with the Skywing City Lord. Premature babies are even better. Did Chuyu give birth to him? Yunsheng thought to herself. The heavens are really helping me. It's not even July, Steward Chu sighed. After she married the guard, the two madams were still unwilling to let her go. They forced her, who was pregnant, to go to the treasure boat. At that time, the Skywing City Lord had also been infuriated by Steward Chu's deliberate cold shoulder, so he did not care about these matters. Chuyu was born prematurely when Steward Chu was busy on the treasure boat and accidentally disturbed the fetus. What if we push the time back another 3 months? During the 4th month, was the City Lord in Skywing City? Yunsheng asked with a smile. This. The mother and daughter of the Chu family immediately understood Yunsheng's intentions. Sister Yu was born prematurely. Other than you, no one knows her true identity. If you say she's the City Lord's daughter, then she's the City Lord's daughter. In this way Skywing's Tuo won't dare to have any evil thoughts, Yunsheng said with a smile. In fact, Yunsheng had heard Chuyu mention during their previous chats that she had been born prematurely when she was young, so her body wasn't very good. Later on, she had become a warrior to strengthen her body. However, the fire can't be contained. What the City Lord hates the most is being deceived by others. The two young masters in the residence will definitely not let it go. Steward Chu was a little hesitant. At this moment, she really hoped that her daughter was the City Lord's flesh and blood. However, the truth was the exact opposite. Yes, Heavenly Wing Tuo and Heavenly Wing Dong aren't easy to deal with. They'll definitely force me to do a blood test with the City Lord. When the time comes, we'll be exposed and Mother will be implicated. Chuyu was unwilling to take the risk. Let's do the blood test. I still have a way to let your blood fuse together. Yun Xing winked slyly. No, I can't do that. Chuyu still disagreed. Sister Chuyu, your father passed away early. If I'm not wrong, the one who hugged you when you were young, played with you, and even taught you martial arts should be the city lord himself, right? Yun Xing guided her patiently. Chuyu's heart skipped a beat, and she couldn't help but recall the scene of her childhood. Because she didn't have a father and was born prematurely, she was as thin and weak as a little monkey when she was young. The children of many servants in the city lord's residence would take advantage of the absence of the adults to bully her. Somehow the city lord found out about this. The city lord hid it from Steward Chu and came back every evening to teach her martial arts. Chuyu's heart warmed every time she thought of the scene of the two of them practicing martial arts and playing under the setting sun like father and daughter. The strict city lord was the only person in Chuyu's childhood memories who was comparable to her father. It was only when she became an adult that she found out that the city lord of Skywing's castle was not related to her by blood. Considering the rumors in the city lord's residence, she gradually distanced herself from him. If she really became the city lord's daughter, then her mother would have fewer misgivings. Chuyu didn't say a word, and Steward Chu also frowned. Yun Xing took the opportunity to whisper a few words into Chuyu's ear. Chuyu believed it, but at the moment the only way to save her was the method that Yun Xing said. Early the next morning, Chuyu and her mother immediately arrived at the city lord's residence of Skywing's castle. Oh, isn't this Chuyu? The two had just entered the city lord's residence when they heard Skywing's tower's eccentric voice. Skywing's tower had a smug look on his face. I told you long ago that you would be this young master's woman sooner or later. Eldest young master, show some respect. I'm here to find the city lord. Chuyu's face was frosty. It's useless to find my father. You will be this young master's concubine in the future. The eldest young master reached out to touch Chuyu's face. Impudent. Eldest young master, you're doing something worse than a beast. I'll make it clear today. You is your biological sister, the city lord's biological daughter. Steward Chu's stern eyes narrowed as he reprimanded. Skywing's tower's hands stiffened, and his face turned to stone. When the servants of the city lord's residence heard the news, they immediately relayed the news to the city lord of Skywing's castle. When Skywing's supremacy heard the news, he was extremely agitated. He gathered his two sons in the main hall, and even the eldest young mistress hurried over. How can Chuyu be our sister? Steward Chu, you can't speak carelessly. After hearing the news, Skywing's tower and Skywing's east had looks of disbelief. Almost 20 years had passed, and a sister had suddenly popped out of nowhere. Skywing's tower gritted his teeth. Chuyu, that little girl must be lying. In order to avoid the marriage with him, she came up with such a rotten idea. Father, please be careful about this matter. Father, Chuyu must be talking nonsense because she wants to break off the marriage. Neither of the two brothers was willing to admit Chuyu's identity. At this moment, the city lord of Skywing's castle, Skywing's supremacy's thoughts were also a mess. He looked at Steward Chu with a complicated expression. Chapter 669. The Skywing city lord wanted to find some clues from the stupefied Steward Chu. He had been in a relationship with Steward Chu for many years. It could be said that he had been in love with Steward Chu for the longest time. In his life, the only person he had been moved by was Chu Lan. The marriage that year had caused the Skywing city lord to feel bitter and hateful. He had regretted it for many years. When Chuyu was born, due to her premature birth, the Skywing city lord still had a sliver of doubt about Chuyu's background. He even thickened his skin and personally went to ask Steward Chu, but Steward Chu insisted that Chuyu was the daughter of her short-lived husband. He had no choice but to give up. He had wanted to facilitate the marriage between his son and Chuyu, but who knew that after so many years the mother and daughter would suddenly change their minds. This matter was too coincidental, and it happened after he had ordered Chuyu to marry his eldest son. He could not help but be suspicious. Chu Lan, if this matter is true, why did you deny it back then? The Skywing's honorable sighed. He did have feelings for Steward Chu. She had silently accompanied him for so many years, and their friendship was deeper than his two deceased wives. City Lord, if I had acknowledged that child's identity back then, I'm afraid that mother and daughter would not have been able to live in this world. Moreover, my late husband had passed away early, and there was no bloodline in his family, so I wanted to leave an heir for him, Steward Chu said as she pretended to wipe her tears. Steward Chu, you're really full of nonsense. You had concerns back then and could not say it. Then why are you willing to say it now? The Skywing's Honorable jumped out. If not for the eldest young master forcing me into a corner this time, I would not have told the truth even if I died. Eldest young master, Ur has hidden from you for so many years to avoid the tragedy of sibling incest. Steward Chu's face was red with anger. She recalled the misery of the mother and daughter all these years and cried even more sincerely. Steward Chu even secretly pinched his daughter, Chuyu, but Chuyu, who was at the side, couldn't cry no matter what. Fortunately, Chuyu was prepared. She pulled up her sleeves and fiercely wiped her eyes a few times. Chuyu's sleeves had already been smeared with a lot of chili water according to Yun Sheng's instructions. As soon as the chili water entered her eyes, Chuyu's tears immediately fell. The mother and daughter hugged each other and cried together. It was a miserable scene. After hearing the mother and daughter's words, those who were slightly soft-hearted felt their noses sour. Those servants, maids and some old stewards all wiped away their tears. The two young masters and eldest young mistress were the only ones who didn't believe him. Even the ambitious and ruthless Skywing City Lord couldn't help but feel sorrow in his heart. He held Steward Chu in one hand and Chuyu in the other, feeling deeply moved. Don't cry. It's been hard on you and your daughter all these years. I'm not in the city most of the time. Don't worry, as long as I'm here, I won't let anyone bully the two of you. Let's just forget about yours marriage. The Skywing City Lord felt his heart ache when he saw this, and he was about to step forward to console the mother and daughter. At this point, the Skywing City Lord was already 70 to 80% convinced. Wait, father, don't be blinded by the tears of these two women. Whether this was true or not still needed to be verified. Whether or not she's father's flesh and blood, a drop of blood will be enough. Second young Master Skywing saw that the situation wasn't right and stepped forward to stop him. He was a homosexual and was most disdainful of these women's tricks. He was different from Skywing Tower. If Chuyu really returned to the family, Skywing Tower would just lose a plaything. Chuyu had originally been his subordinate. If she really turned into his younger sister, then who would have the final say in the Skywing's arena in the future? Moreover, Kong Fei was clamoring to be the person in charge of the Yellow Wings division. If Chuyu returned to the family, the qualifications to be the person in charge of the Yellow Wings division would belong to none other than her. After she became the person in charge, if the Yellow Wings division became a manager, the upper echelons of the Skywing arena would view Chuyu in a new light. If this continued, Chuyu would very likely replace him as the new steward of the Skywing arena. Furthermore, given Skywing Lord Skywing's trust in Steward Chu, Chuyu's status would surely rise in the future. He would never allow another person to compete with him for the family property. That's right. A drop of blood will be used. At worst, second brother and I will also drop our blood. If the results are the same, Chuyu will be the true descendant of our Skywing clan. Skywing Tower was also unwilling. What sister or not? If he, Skywing Tower, took a fancy to her, even if she was his sister, he would still eat her up. This was already a fat piece of meat on the side. How could he just watch and throw it away? The two Skywing brothers were in agreement for the first time. Skywing Tower swore to eat the swan meat that was Chuyu, while Skywing Tower did not want his power to be seized by others. Both had the ambition of wolves. One was a jackal and the other was a wolf. Neither was good. Chuyu and her mother saw this and hated it in their hearts. Fortunately, the two of them were already mentally prepared. The Skywing City Lord frowned and was about to reprimand them. Then let's do it, but if I really am the City Lord's daughter, what will happen? Chuyu's eyes turned cold, her pretty face already filled with anger. She stared straight at the Skywing brothers, the tears in her eyes already gone. If you are our sister, the marriage will be cancelled immediately. In the future, we brothers will definitely treat you as siblings, the Skywing brothers said in unison. If little sister Chuyu really is the flesh and blood of the Skywing clan, as her sister-in-law, I will also treat her with courtesy. The eldest young mistress patted her chest and promised. The three of them naturally believed that Chuyu would not dare to do a blood test. Who would have thought that after Chuyu heard their promises, her lips would curl, her eyes brimming with confidence as she agreed. When the Skywing City Lord saw this, he was somewhat puzzled. He looked at Steward Chu, who gave him a firm nod. The Skywing City Lord understood tacitly at this moment, and he was even more certain that Chuyu was his flesh and blood. With an order, the tools for the blood test were quickly brought over. The Skywing City Lord ordered for 3 bowls to be prepared. He poured a portion of clear water into each of the bowls, and dripped his finger blood into each of the bowls. The Skywing brothers also stepped forward and dripped their blood into each of the bowls. Chuyu was still a little apprehensive. Even though Yun Xing had already demonstrated it several times, and she had seen the results with her own eyes, it was still a demonstration in front of the Skywing City Lord, so Chuyu still felt a little uneasy. Chuyu glanced at her mother. Steward Chu used his eyes to encourage his daughter to step forward. Chuyu stepped forward, picked up the needle and pricked her finger. The blood dripped into the bowls. Everyone was only paying attention to Chuyu's blood, and no one noticed that when Chuyu pricked her finger, there was a layer of gray on her finger. Everyone's eyes were fixed on the bowls. Blood. The blood in the 3 bowls slowly began to change. There were now 2 drops of blood in each bowl, and in the end they fused together. Chapter 670. When the blood completely fused together, Steward Chu's legs went soft, and Chuyu could not help but collapse to the ground and cry. Everyone present, especially the 2 young masters of the Skywing clan, had a marvelous expression on their faces. In the end, Chuyu really was their little sister. Did they really have a sister? The Skywing City Lord burst into laughter. Ignoring everything else, he stepped forward and hugged the mother and daughter pair. The 3 of them were crying and laughing at the same time. The Skywing Sovereign was undoubtedly the most pleasantly surprised. He had never imagined that at his age, he would have a daughter. Moreover, this daughter was obedient and sensible, just like Steward Chu. This was his daughter. It was just that while Steward Chu and Chuyu's worry turned into joy, the Skywing Sovereign was ecstatic. Only the Skywing brothers looked at each other, their eyes filled with anger. Father, do you want to appraise it again? I think that Steward Chu might have prepared these tools beforehand. The Skywing City Lord was very meticulous. He suspected that Steward Chu was the one who had set up today's scheme. That's right, Father. Chuyu doesn't look like you at all. How could she be our family? The Skywing Tower was still unwilling to give up. B****RD. You're truly worse than pigs and dogs. If I say so, then so be it. Do you think I'd mistake my own daughter for someone else? And you actually want to marry my sister? Scram. Both of you scram. The Skywing Sovereign was just feeling happy, but he was enraged by the 2 brothers pestering. The 2 brothers knew that their father would not listen to anything they said, so they did not dare to say anything more, crestfallen as they scurried out of the hall. After Chuyu's family of 3 was reunited, they had a peaceful and happy meal. During the meal, Chuyu took the opportunity to mention that she wanted to take over the Yellow Wings competition zone. Father, your daughter contacted the Everlasting Chamber of Commerce a few days ago, intending to expand the Yellow Wings competition zone, but the first competition zone's Kong Fei has been obstructing your daughter at every turn, Chuyu tactfully said. With the investment in craftsmen from the Everlasting Chamber of Commerce, Chuyu's expansion should have progressed very quickly. But Kong Fei, that bastard, was like a clown, causing mischief everywhere. Kong Fei? How could a puny competition zone referee be so bold? The Skywing City Lord was not very familiar with the matters of the Skywing Arena. But when he heard that someone was making things difficult for his precious daughter, he was furious. City Lord, Kong Fei is not an ordinary judge. He has a close relationship with Second Young Master. Manager Chu was also fanning the flames from time to time. That bastard. At the mention of his second son's special fetish, the Skywing City Lord was filled with anger. You don't have to worry about this matter. You're my daughter. Who in the city dares to bully you? Tomorrow I will hold the ancestral recognition ceremony. As for second brother, I'll tell him that you will be in charge of the Yellow Wings competition zone in the future. Kong Fei, you can teach him whatever you want. Thank you, Father. Chuyu was overjoyed. She hadn't expected things to go so smoothly. Manager Chu also had a gratified look on his face. The mother and daughter looked at each other with relief in their eyes. Both of them said in their hearts that it was all thanks to Yun Sheng. When night fell, Chuyu and Manager Chu finally had the chance to come out from the City Lord's mansion. They found Yun Sheng and Dong Huanglinger, who were in the inn, and told them about what happened during the day. Sister Chuyu, from today onwards, you are the daughter of the Skywing City Lord? You even became the person in charge of the Yellow Wings competition zone? That's amazing. It's only been a day. Dong Huanglinger was overjoyed. Yun Sheng also had a gratified look on her face. With this, the people of the Skywing Arena would no longer dare to ostracize Sister Chuyu. Chuyu's ability was obvious to all, but because of her identity, she had always been ostracized by that pretty boy from Skywing East. From tomorrow onwards, the City Lord will announce my identity. From today onwards, I will be called Skywing Yu. Chuyu was half happy and half worried. She could get rid of Skywing Tower's entanglement, but she had also betrayed her identity. If her deceased father knew about this, who knew if he would blame her? She didn't reject acknowledging Skywing Tower as her father. After all, the City Lord had watched her grow up since she was young. Other than this marriage, the City Lord had never treated her unfairly. According to her mother, the City Lord wanted Chuyu and him to become a true family, which was why he had Skywing Tower marry her. Yunsheng, actually, I'm still in a daze. Why would my blood and that of the City Lord and the Skywing brothers fuse? Chuyu had a puzzled look on her face. Last night, in order to make Chuyu more confident, Yunsheng had tried to fuse their blood together. However, at that time Yunsheng had steward Chu find a bowl of lime, then smeared lime on the needle used for the blood test. Today, for the blood test, Chuyu had followed Yunsheng's instructions and smeared lime powder on her finger. Because there was very little lime powder, if the average person didn't look carefully, they wouldn't notice it at all. At the moment of the blood test, Chuyu's heart was still somewhat apprehensive. Steward Chu had even tested it. After smearing lime powder, even her and Yunsheng's blood could fuse together. If someone who didn't know saw it, they would really think that Yunsheng was Steward Chu's long-lost daughter. That's right, Sister Chuyu and the City Lord are clearly not. Donghuang Ling said without thinking. Ling Yunsheng warned. From today onwards, we must insist that Sister Chuyu is the flesh and blood of the City Lord of Skywing City. This matter only the four of us know. Yunsheng did things very carefully. Other than Chuyu and her mother and Ling no one else knew about it. Even Gufeng and the others didn't know about it. The reason is very simple. Lime powder helps blood coagulation. As long as a small amount of lime powder is added, blood will coagulate. Moreover, using the blood test to confirm one's bloodline is not correct. Yunsheng couldn't explain to the two that blood of the same blood type and blood of different blood types could be fused together. The method of the ancient people using the blood test was actually very unscientific. For Yunsheng, who was familiar with modern medicine, it wasn't difficult to fuse the blood of two people who weren't related by blood. No matter what, this time it's all thanks to you. I can finally rest assured. Chuyu breathed a sigh of relief. Ever since she grew up into a young girl at the age of 13 or 14, she had always been harassed by Skywings. Even after arriving at the Skywings arena, Skywings would still harass her from time to time. Now that she had an additional identity, it was equivalent to putting an end to this future trouble forever. Miss Yun, please accept my bow. Steward Chu became even more agitated and was about to kneel down in front of Yunsheng. However, Yunsheng forcefully pulled him back. Sister Chuyu, if you really want to repay me, then arrange a few more matches for us. You also know that Ling and I both want to obtain the title of Fighting King as soon as possible, Yunsheng said indifferently. Chapter 671. After thinking about it, Yunsheng sighed with emotion. She never would have thought that she would one day use modern medicine in such a situation. Of course. Even if the City Lord didn't appoint me as the supervisor of the Yellow Wings Division, I would still increase the schedule of the 9th Division. You two just have to rely on your strength and prepare for the 2-person annual competition. Chuyu was full of confidence. After becoming the supervisor of the Yellow Wings Division, Chuyu's responsibilities became even heavier. She knew that Kong Fei and the second young master would definitely not let this matter rest. They would definitely take advantage of the annual competition to cause trouble. Chuyu's prediction was correct. Sure enough, the Skywing City Lord held an ancestral recognition ceremony the next day. He even specially invited a few of the main stewards of the treasure boat, the supervisors of the Skywings Arena's major divisions, as well as some of the powers in Skywing City to announce Chuyu's identity. The Skywing City Lord even announced that Chuyu would be renamed Skywings Yu and that she would be in charge of the Yellow Wings Division in the future. Faced with this sudden decision, the second young master, Tianyi Dong, had some complaints, but there was nothing he could do. After this news was released, some were happy while others were sad. The one who wanted to vomit blood the most was Kong Fei. Speaking of Kong Fei, he was also very unlucky. He had originally wanted to take advantage of the last monthly competition to make a huge profit, but who would have thought that he would be knocked unconscious in the monthly competition? After the competition ended that day, Kong Fei didn't wake up until the next day. The first thing he said when he woke up was, "How was the competition?" Flame Emperor counterattacked and won. Tianyi Dong didn't particularly care who won or lost. In any case, he didn't have much of a cooperative relationship with the Hidden Night Pavilion. Whether it was Lu Qingqing or Flame Emperor, it didn't matter who won. As long as it was a topic of discussion, the money lost could still be recovered from the annual competition. But Kong Fei was different. The sissy's heart was bleeding and twitching. Lu Qingqing had actually lost. Not only that, he quickly learned that his cousin Yellow Knight Emissary had also been killed. With Yellow Knight Emissary's death, Kong Fei really lost both his people and his money. Yellow Knight Emissary had boasted earlier that the Willow Blades team would win. That was a sure thing. Kong Fei was greedy. Thinking of such a high payout, he bet 1,000,000 gold coins on Willow Blades. The worst part was that this 1,000,000 was not his own money. Kong Fei was too extravagant. He didn't have any extra money on hand. This 1,000,000 gold coins was transferred from his cousin, Yellow Knight Emissary, from the Hidden Knight Pavilion. Once Yellow Knight Emissary died, the Hidden Knight Pavilion immediately forced Kong Fei to step down. Kong Fei could only take out the income of the first competition zone a few months ago to make up for it. He had thought that the matter would be resolved just like this. In any case, the income of the first competition zone was high, and they could earn it back very quickly. When the time came, they could settle the accounts without anyone noticing. But what made Kong Fei want to vomit blood was yet to come. After his body recovered, he went to the first competition zone and was immediately dumbfounded. The first, second, and third competition zones had all been razed to the ground. It would take at least 2 to 3 months to rebuild these competition zones. 2 to 3 months. Didn't that mean that his division wouldn't have any income in these 2 months? Not only that, but the matches that were originally scheduled for the first competition zone would also be allocated to the other competition zones. Because the 9th competition zone usually had the fewest competition schedules, Chuyu also received the most competition schedules. What made Kong Fei even more unbalanced was that Chuyu had used some unknown method to gather a large amount of funds and used it to expand the 9th competition zone. The current 9th competition zone was a full 2 times larger than before. It could accommodate 3,000 people watching the matches at the same time. Not only that, but the first thing Heaven's Wing Jade did after becoming the person in charge of the Yellow Wings competition zone was to thoroughly investigate the entire Yellow Wings competition zone's accounts. She quickly found out that Kong Fei had misappropriated public funds for gambling. Heaven's Wing Jade immediately demanded that Kong Fei make up the money, or else she would chase Kong Fei out. After learning this news, Kong Fei only felt a fishy taste surge in his throat. With a pft, he spat out a mouthful of blood. In the end, it was still the second young master who came forward and made up for the 1,000,000 gold coins difference. Because of this matter, Heaven's Wing Jade hated Heaven's Wing Jade even more. After Chuyu changed her name to Heaven's Wing Jade, Kong Fei and the second young master both behaved themselves for a while. Under Heaven's Wing Jade's management, the income of the 9th competition zone soared. Kong Fei was extremely envious. After racking his brains, he finally came up with a way to stop Chuyu from continuing to make profits. After Yellow Knight Emissary's death, Kong Fei's position in the Yellow Wings competition zone had already plummeted. Now that Chuyu had taken the stage, Kong Fei was even more resentful. On this day, Kong Fei went to find Heaven's Wing Jade again. After a round of flattery, he said, "Second young master, has the income of the recent monthly competition been poor? Why don't this subordinate come up with an idea for you?" Heaven's Wing Jade was indeed worried about the arena's declining income. Of the Heaven's Wings arena's 4 main competition zones, the performance of the Heaven and Earth divisions was about the same as in previous years. However, the Black Wings competition zone had been forced to close for reorganization due to the escape of the Profound Beasts. As for the monthly competition in the Yellow Wings competition zone, aside from the Flame Emperor match in August, which had seen a spurt of growth, the monthly competitions in September and October were not as good as before, whether it was the number of people entering or the audience's reaction. Only the competition zone where Heaven's Wing Jade was outshone. In the final analysis, it was still because the match between Flame Emperor and Willow Saber that day had been too exciting. Without the excitement of that match in the future competitions, the people's enthusiasm had waned. Seeing that the end of the year was approaching, the Lord of Heaven's Wing City would have his 2 sons hand over their respective accounts books at the end of each year. He would compare the results of the Treasure Boat and the Heaven's Wings Arena. In previous years, the Treasure Boat and the Heaven's Wings Arena could be considered to have both won and lost. Heaven's Wing Jade originally didn't take it to heart, but a while ago, he had received news that the Treasure Boat had helped someone refine a Saint-grade saber a few months earlier. Not only that, but the Treasure Boat also seemed to have invited a master artificer. In this period of time, They had launched a large number of artifacts and weapons that were very unfamiliar in appearance and grade. Thanks to these things, the treasure boat's business had improved considerably. Heaven's Wing Jade had been the subject of Heaven's Wing Jade for a while, but when he saw the treasure boat's performance, his mood immediately turned sunny. He would sit in the main hall every evening and calculate how much money the treasure boat had earned each day with great relish. Even the city lord, who had always been very disdainful of Heaven's Wing Jade, had opened his mouth to praise Heaven's Wing Jade a few times. There had even begun to be rumors in the streets that the city lord of Heaven's Wing City intended to pass the position of city lord to Heaven's Wing Jade. Thus, the pressure on Heaven's Wing Jade came, and he had no choice but to shift his focus to the arena's performance. Chapter 672. Oh, what good idea do you have? Let's hear it. Tianyi Dong was curious. It's actually very simple. Those spectators can't be bothered to watch the competition because it's too monotonous. If you can add some interest, it might be different, Kong Fei muttered in Tianyi Dong's ear. Tianyi Dong immediately perked up when he heard this. Good. That's really an exciting idea. I'll give the order for the Yellow Wings and Profound Wings divisions to prepare well. After hearing Kong Fei's proposal, the second young master pondered it and felt that it was a good idea. The next day, Tianyi Dong summoned the people in charge of the 4 divisions and announced a new decision. Due to the continuous decline in the performance of the arena, the end of the year is drawing near, and the annual competition is about to begin. This young master has thought it over and decided to adopt a completely new format for this year's annual competition. Tianyi Dong deliberately kept them in suspense. What? Letting the Profound Wings and Yellow Wings divisions hold the annual competition together? That's too ridiculous. The renovation work of the Profound Wings division was much more difficult than that of the Yellow Wings division. As soon as Tianyi Dong's order was passed down, the referees of the Yellow Wings division immediately became restless. Tianyi Yu in particular, was very disapproving of Kong Fei's announcement. Tianyi Dong's new idea was to hold the annual competition of the Yellow Wings and Profound Wings divisions together in order to attract spectators. The contestants of the Yellow Wings division would challenge the magical beasts of the Profound Wings division. Tianyi Yu knew that Tianyi Dong definitely hadn't come up with this idea himself. Tianyi Dong was a reckless martial artist. In the past, he had never thought of any way to improve the performance of the Tianyi arena. We feel that this idea is feasible. On the continent, there's never been an arena that directly uses magical beasts to compete with humans. This idea is very topical. The people in charge of the Tianyi and Earthly Wings divisions readily agreed. Tianyi Yu cursed inwardly. 2 old fogies, you're naturally happy that it's not your contestants. Second brother, this matter came so suddenly. Why don't you go back and discuss it with father? Tianyi Yu suggested. Suddenly? Tianyi Yu, father acknowledged your identity, but I didn't. Speaking of sudden, what could be more sudden than me suddenly gaining a younger sister? When Tianyi Dong heard this, he was unhappy. After Heaven's Wing Jade returned to the clan, her father doted on her a lot. Even the annual funding for the Yellow Wings division was directly given to Heaven's Wing Jade for her own use. The mother and son of the Chu family were about to seize all the properties of the Skywing City Lord's mansion. Don't say that I'm autocratic. I'll give you all a chance. Of the 5 of us here, we'll each vote, and the side with the majority will have the final say, Tianyi Dong said impatiently. Very quickly the results of the vote were out. The Yellow Wings competition zone and the Earth Profound Wings competition zone would be held together this year. The decision was immediately announced in the form of an announcement. Most of the contestants didn't care too much about this announcement. Only the contestants from the Yellow Wings zone who were participating in the annual competition had a lot of opinions. Yun Sheng and Dong Huanglinger also saw the announcement. In the Skywings arena, cross-level competition had happened before, but that was a special situation that would only happen when the contestants of a division were on the verge of a breakthrough in strength. Flame Emperor was the champion of August's monthly competition. According to the rules, he would fight against the champion of August's magical beast competition zone. It was fine to fight against a human, but it was hard to say when fighting against a magical beast. Can we refuse? I heard that the competition in the Profound Wings zone is very intense. The magical beasts haven't competed recently, and they're already hungry. They're much more ferocious than before. Dong Huanglinger had also come into contact with some magical beasts when she was in the eastern capital. In fact, some of the nobles in the eastern capital also had a tradition of hunting, so Dong Huanglinger had a better understanding of the competition between magical beasts and humans. You can't refuse. Otherwise, your qualifications to be the champion of August's monthly competition will be stripped, and the third place will automatically replace you. Moreover, all your previous winning streaks will be reset to 0. Heaven's Winged Jade walked over and helplessly told Yun Sheng and Dong Huanglinger the Overlord's rule. Heaven's Winged Jade was originally a rude and unreasonable person. In order to force the monthly competition champions to agree, he directly set this unreasonable rule. The second place of August's monthly competition was Willow Blade. However, after experiencing the most thrilling monthly competition finals in history in August, Lu Qingqing was directly torn apart by 5 horses, and Tortoise Blade was also dead. Therefore, the third place could only be replaced by the third place Double Dragon. Yunxing and Dong Huanglinger had been competing against each other for several months now, and their winning streak had already reached over 80 matches. According to the rules of the annual competition where the rewards would be doubled, a single victory in the annual competition would be equivalent to 10 victories in the individual competition. As long as they could make it to the finals of the annual competition, the two of them would very likely be able to obtain a record of 100 consecutive victories and become the fighting king. Now that the two of them were being stripped of their achievements, the two of them were naturally unwilling. Moreover, once they obtained the title of fighting king, they could also obtain additional rewards from the Heaven's Wings arena. Most of the other contestants were like this. Heaven's Winged Jade was certain that the contestants wouldn't dare to refuse, so he made such a rude and unreasonable decision. With no other choice, Yun Sheng and Dong Huanglinger could only accept this arrangement. In the blink of an eye, another 2 months had passed and it was already November. In the past few months, the trials of the continent's elite magician camp and elite warrior camp had been carried out in an orderly manner. During this time there was no news from Yi Baiming and Feng Tian. Chen Lianer had been confined to the empty ship by Elder Helian. Gu Feng's defensive celestial sphere was improving more and more, and abandoned strength was also steadily increasing. In the middle of November, Yun Sheng received a very unexpected letter. Yun Sheng looked at the letter and immediately revealed a brilliant smile. She happily said to Dong Huanglinger, "My second uncle and the brothers of the hunting corps are here." As it turned out, the hunting corps that had risen the fastest in the past 5 years, Sky Assault, was coming to Heaven's Wing City to observe the competition and raise the cultivation of the hunters. Although they were here to observe, it was actually Yun Songlong's special arrangement. Previously, in order to prevent her second uncle and grandfather from worrying, Yun Xing would write home every few months to tell them about her recent situation. In a letter 3 months ago, Yun Xing had mentioned that after entering the continent's elite magician camp, she had been training in Heaven's Wing City this year. Yun Songlong hadn't seen his niece for more than 2 years, and he missed her dearly. After discussing it with the brothers of the hunting corps, they all said in unison that they wanted to go to Heaven's Wing City to visit their young master. Of course, before they came, none of them knew that Yun Xing was actually among the participants of this year's annual competition. Chapter 673. Dong Huangling had only met Yun Songhai when she was young. She had only recently found out that Yun Xing's family was the famous Yun clan in Zhou State. After Yun Xing read the letter, Yun Songlong said that they would arrive at Skywing City in the afternoon. After not seeing her second uncle for a long time, Yun Xing was also very concerned about the news of the hunting corps and her grandfather, Yun Ba. She, Dong Huangling, Gu Feng, Qi and the others went to the city gate to wait for them. Before Yun Xing went to meet them, she was also curious. Tianfa doesn't have its own airship. I wonder how the hunting corps is going to come this time. They waited from noon until evening. They waited until the sky was filled with multicolored light and the clouds near Skywing City were bordered with gold. Only then did several black dots faintly appear in the sky. At such a high altitude, ordinary low-level magical beasts wouldn't be able to get close. Those black dots naturally weren't ordinary magical beasts. The black dots were getting closer and closer. Upon closer inspection there were actually 50 of them. "They're coming." Yun Xing waved her hand towards the sky. The 50 black dots were getting closer and closer. They were actually 3-winged bat dragons with multiple heads. They are 3-winged flying dragons. Why are there so many level 7 3-winged bat dragons? On the city gate of Skywing City, the city guards were in an uproar. 3-winged bat dragons were a type of flying dragon. They were rarely seen on the continent and only appeared on some uninhabited islands far away from the continent. Due to their ferocious nature and their addiction to raw meat, they were a very ferocious magical beast. If a large number of 3-winged bat dragons appeared, it would very likely mean a great loss of people. Just as the city guards were about to report to the city lord's mansion, a flag appeared in the sky. The flag was golden red and embroidered with the two words Tianfa. It's not an enemy attack. It's the A-ranked hunting corps Tianfa. I heard that second young master invited many hunting corps for the annual competition. Let them land. So many bat dragons appearing all of a sudden wasn't a common sight in Skywing City. It even attracted a lot of people to watch. The bat dragon in the lead looked very familiar. Yun Sheng took a closer look and saw that it was Zhong's personality, whom she hadn't seen for many days. The 50 bat dragons and 50 hunters jumped down from the bat dragons. The members of the Heaven Extermination Hunting Corps that came this time were all elites, and they were all well trained. The moment they landed on the ground, the bat dragon lowered its feet. The hunters were all in perfect order. That wasn't all. It wasn't until Skyfeld's hunters landed that Yun Xing realized they were all wearing armor. This group of people also had the intention to fight for the reputation of the Sky Destroyer Hunting Corps. Everyone's armor and weapons were from the batch that Yun Xing had refined for them. Those were all special weapons that had been fused with purple gold. Even under the light of the setting sun, they still sparkled with purple light. It was as dazzling as one could imagine. Some of the citizens who came to watch were also stunned. The citizens were all puzzled. Where did these rich people come from? Even a treasure boat wouldn't be able to take out 50 sets of violet gold equipment. It's the A-ranked hunting corps Sky Assault. TSK, how amazing. I was wondering who they were. That's right. Mommy, that's a mutated flying bat drake, right? The Sky Destroyer Hunting Corps was the most eye-catching thing in the world. After landing, each of the bat dragons looked like they were the size of a helicopter. When they spread out their wings, they were at least 2 meters long. The reason why they were called three-winged was because they had a small protruding wing on their backs. There was a protruding fleshy wing, which was just enough to make the hunters more stable during the flight. Zhou Quan, who was the first to jump down, heard the discussions of the crowd and was very pleased. He even deliberately said, "See, this is the benefit of joining the Sky Destroyer Hunting Corps. Violet gold armor and mutated bat dragons. If you join, you'll get a share. What are you hesitating for? Hurry up and join the Sky Destroyer Hunting Corps." Yun Xing only found it funny when she saw this. Yun Songlong stood to the side with a smile and didn't stop Zhou Quan. Skywing City wasn't an ordinary place. If they could recruit new members of the Hunting Corps here, it would be very beneficial for the Sky Destroyer Hunting Corps. Yun Songlong was no longer the depressed and pedantic young general from a few years ago. This year's Hunting Corps captain's experience allowed him to become an outstanding Hunting Corps captain. At the same time, he was also a shrewd leader. Wow, what a grand display. Yun Xing, where did your Hunting Corps get so many bat dragons? Gu Feng's eyes were about to fall out of their sockets. He impatiently reached out to touch those bat dragons. The bat dragons snorted and raised their sharp claws, wanting to give Gu Feng a swipe. Apart from their respective masters, they wouldn't care about ordinary humans at all. Little Qing let out a hiss from the magic scepter, and the eyes of the bat dragons were filled with terror. They were so frightened that they fell to the ground and didn't move at all. The 50 bat dragons were now as docile as horses. They didn't move at all. The city guards, who were used to seeing all kinds of magical beasts, were dumbfounded. They looked at the Sky Destroyer Hunting Corps as if they were looking at monsters. It was true that the Sky Destroyer Hunting Corps was strong, but they were actually strong enough to control such fierce three-winged bat dragons. Could it be that these 50 people were all summoners? Under everyone's astonished gazes, Yun Xing and Yun Songlong chatted and laughed as they led the Hunting Corps to an inn in the city. Only then did Yun Songlong tell Yun Xing about the origin of these bat dragons. This matter was related to a small episode before Yun Xing went to the immortal abode. Back then, after Yuan Xiahua killed Xian Wuji, Xian Wuji's blood cloud crocodile became an ownerless item. Yun Xing followed her family's beast speech ring and refined an imitation beast speech ring. When Yun Xing was refining it, she didn't think too much. She just wanted to customize it for Yun Songlong. After Yun Songlong had that imitation beast speech ring, he would be able to control the peak 9th rank blood cloud crocodile in the imitation beast speech ring. His strength would increase greatly. This was also the reason why the Sky Destroyer Hunting Corps could become the strongest in the continent in a short 5 years. That ring was accidentally discovered by Zhong Yi. Zhong Yi was very curious as to why Yun Songlong, who wasn't a summoner, could control magical beasts. He thickened his skin and asked for the ring from Yun Songlong. Zhong Yi experimented with it in private. In the end he also refined many beast speech rings. But because there were no suitable magical beasts in Zhou state, those imitations. Thus, the beast speech ring became a decoration. After that, several years passed. During that time, Yun Xing went missing and her whereabouts were unknown. But even during that period, Zhong Yi didn't leave the Sky Destroyer hunting corps. He was already used to the days with the group of hotheads in the hunting corps. When Yun Sheng had subdued Zhong Yi was still thinking about how to break the master-servant relationship with Yun Sheng. But after that, Yun Sheng's strength and ability made Zhong Yi very convinced. After Yun Sheng went missing, Zhong Yi voluntarily guarded the Jade Capital. When he had nothing to do, he would help little Ci Entong and the Sky Destroyer hunting corps. These bat dragons were found by him. Chapter 674. The Zhong personality himself was a powerful summoner and refiner. Even though he was undisciplined, he valued his trust. Since he had recognized Yun Sheng as his master, it meant that he had recognized her as his master. About 2 years ago, he happened to be escorting a batch of herbs from a magical herb farm back to the Jade Capital. On an isolated island, he discovered a violent level 7 bat dragon. Relying on Zhong Shi's ability as a holy beast summoner and the commander-level bat dragon king, Zhong Shi easily reprimanded that group of big fellows. He simply made use of the beast language ring to equip many of the hunters in the Heaven Expedition hunting troop with flying magical beasts. This was the origin of this batch of 50 flying magical beasts. However, little master, the ring that you gave to our leader is much stronger than the one that I made. Those hunters can only control flying magical beasts. It is still impossible for them to reach the level of a summoner. Zhong Shi spent a lot of effort but was still unable to create a ring that was exactly the same as Yun Sheng's beast language ring. Unlike Yun Songlong, who could use the blood cloud crocodiles to assist in battle, the other hunters could only control the bat dragons to fly. They could not do it in individual battles. Master Zhong Shi, thank you for your hard work. These 50 bat dragons are enough to scare people to death just by standing there. Yun Sheng smiled but did not say anything. The beast language ring that she made for second uncle was a complete replica of the beast language ring that her mother had left behind. Even the internal structure was 80 to 90% similar. However, when Zhong Shi made the replica, he only scratched the surface and was unable to explore the structure of the ring itself. The beast language ring naturally could not unleash the full potential of the beast language ring. However, to the normal hunters in the Heaven Expedition hunting troop, using flying magical beasts was enough. At least, the posture at the city gate just now was eye-catching enough. Second uncle, why didn't second aunt come with you? Yun Sheng found an inn for them. When they checked in, Yun Sheng noticed that there were a few familiar faces in the group. Among them were Zhou Quan and Oriol, the quarrelsome pair. Compared to 2 years ago when Yun Sheng left Jade Capital, their abilities had clearly increased by a huge chunk. However, she didn't see her second sister-in-law Yuan Xiaohua, which made Yun Sheng a little puzzled. Your second aunt is pregnant. The imperial physician has seen her and said that she is pregnant with twins. She is already 6 months pregnant and it is inconvenient for her to move around. She missed you a lot and wanted to come along, but it was inconvenient for her, so I didn't let her come. At the mention of his wife, Yuan Xiaohua, Yun Songlong's iron-like heart revealed a trace of tenderness. The marriage between Yun Songlong and Yun Sheng had gone through many twists and turns. After the two got married, they happened to encounter the disappearance of Yun Sheng and the decline of the Yun residence. Because of this, Yun Songlong was so busy that he didn't have the time to take care of his wife. It wasn't easy for them to wait until the Heavenly Hunting Corps was in a better state. Only then did the two of them begin to raise their children. Haha, second uncle, you are so capable. You got 2 children at once. Yun Sheng was also very happy. She was really happy for her second uncle. Sigh, young Master Yun, don't talk so much to the commander. Our brothers are dying of exhaustion and hunger. Quickly find a place to rest and eat. I can't wait to go to the city. It was Zhou Quan's first time in Heavenly Wings City. The moment he landed, his mouth opened wide as he looked around. It was a pity that the commander had ordered that before they found a place to stay, they couldn't split up. Master, Heavenly Wings City is really impressive. It is indeed the #1 city in the world. It is already the 12th month of winter in Jade Capital, but it is still like spring here. Oriol rolled her eyes at Zhou Quan. She hadn't seen Yun Sheng for a long time and missed her master very much. What Oriol said was also what the other hunters were curious about. Although this group of people were martial arts practitioners and didn't fear the cold, they were still stunned when they arrived at Heavenly Wings City. This place was filled with flowers and greenery everywhere. It was completely different from the mainland. Below Heavenly Wings City, there is a huge magic array. That magic array not only allows the entire city to float in the sky, but also keeps the city warm all year round. The scenery in this city is very beautiful. When we are free tomorrow, I will bring everyone around for a walk, Yunxing explained. This matter was told to her by Heavenly Wings Jade. Although there was a magic array, no one knew the exact location of the magic array because of the clouds. Heavenly Wings City is really a good place. When Kara and I get married, we will buy a house here and raise a group of children. Zhou Quan chuckled. Who is getting married to you? Who is having a group of children with you? How long has it been since I last saw Master? You are so shameless the moment you see her. Aren't you afraid that everyone will laugh at you? Oriole was very anxious when she heard this. She didn't care that there were people around and pinched Zhou Quan hard. Zhou Quan cried out in pain. These two buffoons would usually quarrel like this in the campsite. Fortunately, their relationship was getting better day by day. Everyone just laughed and didn't say anything. When Yunxing saw this, she couldn't stop laughing. She wondered when she should ask her second uncle to be the matchmaker and have these two settle this matter. Dong Huang Linger looked at the members of the hunting corps. They were getting along as if they were a big family. She felt both emotional and envious. She was truly envious of Yunxing. She could laugh so happily and have a father and family that loved her dearly. She wasn't like her, who willfully abandoned her family. Right, second uncle, I forgot to introduce her to you. This is my good sister Dong Huang Linger. When Yunxing saw that Dong Huang Linger was alone at the side, she directly pulled her to Yun Songlong and introduced her. Hello, second uncle. Dong Huang Linger was somewhat nervous. Dong Huang? Yun Songlong sharply looked at Dong Huang Linger. From her temperament and appearance, Yun Songlong immediately knew Dong Huang Linger's identity. However, he didn't say it out loud. This was the first time Yun Songlong heard Yunxing introduce her good friend. His niece was very smart. Regardless of the background of the friends she chose, he would support them. Miss Dong Huang, I'll have to trouble you to take care of Shinger. Yun Songlong's face was amiable. Dong Huang Linger couldn't help but heave a sigh of relief. On the other side, Huang Ke-er pinched Zhou Quan, and Huang Ke-er went to the side to get angry. Zhou Quan begged a few times but all failed. He hurriedly ran over while shouting, Young Master Yun Ke-er is angry. Quickly think of a way to make her happy. Zhou Quan, you're the one who caused this trouble. Besides, how can I make Ke-er happy? Yunxing found it funny. Zhou Quan scratched his head. Right, young Master Yun, you've been in the Heaven's Wings arena for so long. Do you have any way to find out what's going on in the arena? If you can't find out, can you help me get a ticket to the annual tournament? So I know I need 2 tickets. Chapter 675. The Skywings Arena is so big, what do you want to know? Yunxing was also curious. It should be Zhou Quan's first time in Skywings City. What did he want to know, or did he know someone who was competing in the arena? I want to know about the Flame Emperor battle team. It's a 2-man battle team formed by 2 Rakshasa masked contestants. It's also the team that won the thrilling monthly competition in August. Likes the Flame Emperor battle team the most. Ah, Flame Emperor? Yunxing and Dong Huang Linger were both shocked. Yunxing and Dong Huang Linger did not expect that the masked battle team they formed had already gained some fame in the entire continent, especially in the arena and among the hunters. Even though Flame Emperor was only a contestant from the Yellow Wings region, and their cultivation was said to be below Sky Magicians. However, to the majority of the middle and lower-ranked hunters, Flame Emperor was the model of a counterattack. As newcomers, they defeated a veteran battle team and became famous overnight. They did not have any background, yet they were able to step onto the stage of the Skywings arena. Their role models were even greater than the contestants from the Skywings and Earthwings regions, and they became the idols of the newcomers and young hunters. Especially for new female hunters like Oriole, Flame Emperor was the idol of idols. Didn't I offend the Oriole? As long as I can buy the tickets to the Flame Emperor battle team's annual competition, Ke-er will definitely forgive me. Zhou Quan scratched his head foolishly. Flame Emperor, Yunxing and Dong Huang Linger both had awkward expressions on their faces. After a while, Yunxing had a strange expression on her face. The tickets are still okay. I'll send them to you in a few days. It should be easy to get some tickets through the Heaven's Wings Jade. Yunxing's strange expression fell into Yun Songlong's eyes. After settling down the other hunters, Yun Songlong went to find Yun Xing. Yun Xing hesitated for a while, but still decided to tell Yun Songlong the whole story. What? So you and Miss Donghuang are the Flame Emperors? Previously, Yun Songlong had been curious about the results of Yun Sheng's trial in Skywing City. Who would have known that Yun Xing was actually a member of the most popular contestant group, Flame Emperor? Second uncle, you mustn't tell anyone else about this matter. Ling and I plan to announce this news last. Both Yunxing and Donghuang Ling decided that after leaving Skywing City, they would see if they should announce this secret or not. The two of you are too willful. The magical beasts of the Skywing Arena's mysterious feather zone aren't as simple as you think. Yun Songlong rubbed his forehead. He had fought on the battlefield for many years and was now the commander of a regiment. He knew very well how powerful high-level or even commander-level magical beasts were. Xing battling a commander-level magical beast is no small matter. You must remember to be careful. In the next month, come and spar with second uncle a few times to gain some experience. Yun Songlong was still a little worried. Second uncle, don't worry. Xing knows what I'm doing. Yun Sheng smiled as she comforted her second uncle. But when he thought about it again, when had his niece ever acted according to the rules? Forget it. It's time for you youngsters now. Do you have any news of your father? Ever since Yun Songlong had reunited with his eldest brother Yun Songhai had left without saying goodbye. There's no news of father, but he should be training somewhere. Yun Xing also missed her father. The uncle and niece talked about Yun Ba again. Yun Songlong told Yun Xing that Yun Ba was living very comfortably in the Jade Boat Village area. He had also trained the local villagers and had formed a militia in the city. That's right, Xing. Did you notice that I brought a big gift for you? Yun Songlong told Yun Xing. This time, the team he was leading included the 10 Devil Warriors that Yun Xing had left behind in Jade Capital. The 10 Devil Warriors that Yi Baiming had trained for Yun Xing were all existences that could fight against 10 people at once. Previously, Yun Xing had not been able to bring them along because she had to go to the mainland's elite magician camp. When Yun Songlong had rushed to Tianyi City earlier, he thought that it would not be good if Yun Xing was bullied in a place like Tianyi City. Thus, he had brought along those Devil Warriors. When Yun Xing heard about it, she thought to herself, Second uncle, you have also underestimated your niece. Here only I am allowed to bully others. However, the arrival of these 10 Devil Warriors was of great help to the current Yun Xing. To her, her personal safety was not a big deal. However, Yun Xing had thought that if she were to fall out with the Hidden Night Pavilion in the future, these 10 Devil Warriors would be of great use. After chatting with second uncle, Yun Xing and Donghuang Linger left the inn. The sky had already turned completely dark. Let's go. Let's go to Big Sister Yu. I have something important to discuss with her. Yun Xing was not in a hurry to return to her residence. Instead, she went to look for Channy Jade with Donghuang Linger. Yun Xing brought the 10 Devil Warriors and silently disappeared into the darkness. When Yun Xing and Donghuang Linger suddenly appeared with 10 burly men, Channy Jade was shocked. Big Sister Yu, don't be afraid. These are my people. Yun Xing waved her hand, and the 10 Devil Warriors silently disappeared into the night. Who knew what methods Yi Baiming, that sly fox, used to train people? These 10 Devil Warriors' appearances were unclear. Normally they were almost like mutes. They were proficient in magic and battle techniques. Their average strength was enough to reach the level of a saint magician or a martial ancestor. If they used a special formation with these 10 people, their strength would be comparable to a martial saint sky magician. Moreover, they were good at concealment and tracking. They were simply the best candidates for killing and robbing. Why did you bring these people here? Even though Channy Jade had seen many people, she had never seen such strange servants. To help. Didn't you say earlier that the people of the Hidden Night Pavilion have been restless recently? I will lend them to you. If you see someone you don't like, then... Yun Xing made a throat-slitting gesture. Ever since Yellow Knight Emissary died, Channy Jade had taken the opportunity to clean up the Hidden Night Pavilion's influence in the Yellow Wings competition zone. However, Su Dagua of the Hidden Night Pavilion did not give up. Channy Jade's identity was special, so they did not dare to do anything. However, the people of the Hidden Night Pavilion would occasionally harass the other judges and some spectators in the competition zone. Although Channy Jade had acknowledged her ancestors, she was after all not Channy Tua or Channy Dong. Her strength was average and she was only a martial ancestor. She also did not have her own personal guards. Channy Jade had previously complained to Yun Sheng about these matters. She did not expect that Yunxing would actually find so many impressive subordinates for her. Yunxing, you are truly my timely reign. Tianyi Jade was extremely happy. Big sister Yu, I did not come here tonight solely for this matter. There is another matter that I want to discuss with you. Yunxing told Tianyi Jade what she had seen during the day. Chapter 676. Tianyi Jade was puzzled. Yunxing, how come I've never heard of the things you're talking about? Are you sure it'll work? Of course it'll work. Just do as I say. The results should be out in a few days, Yunxing said with a smile. Tianyi Jade could only half believe and half doubt as it went to arrange things. Late at night, at the headquarters of the Hidden Night Pavilion, a storm of rage had just begun. Bang! Su de Guoshu threw out an account book. The 4 night emissaries of the 4 competition zones were all cowering on the side, not daring to even breathe loudly. They're all trash. Look at the income from medicine in the past few months. It's fallen by 70 to 80%. If this continues, how can the Hidden Night Pavilion survive in Skywing City? Su de Guoshu's anger wasn't without reason. This year, especially after August, the Hidden Night Pavilion's performance had plummeted in a short 3 months. In the Yellow Wings competition zone of the 4 main competition zones, not even a single pill was sold. It wasn't just the pills and potions. The hunters who had been controlled by the Hidden Night Pavilion had also betrayed them. If this continued, the foundation that the Hidden Night Pavilion had built over many years would really be destroyed. Grandmaster, you can't blame us for this. Recently, a large amount of cheap potions and magic potions have appeared out of nowhere. Our businesses have all been greatly affected. The night envoys of the major competition zones had bitter expressions on their faces. The most outrageous thing was that although the prices of those medicines and potions were low, their quality was good. They were even better than the Hidden Night Pavilion's medicine. In the past, it was the contestants who chased after them to buy the expensive potions and pills. Now the situation was the complete opposite. No one was willing to buy their medicine. Have you investigated the origin of those medicines? Su de Guoshu was extremely irritated. There's no news. I heard that those medicines were sold by the Skywings Arena. The night emissaries shook their heads. The Hidden Night Pavilion's method of controlling the contestants in the arena had always been to use all kinds of medicines and potions. Now that this method had failed, relying on ancient medicine and magic treatment alone wasn't enough. Emissary Qin, Emissary Zhao, what about your respective competition zones? Most of the income from the Heaven's Wings and Earth's Wings regions comes from gambling and magic healers, so they shouldn't be affected much. Why did your performance drop as well? Su Dagua was dissatisfied. Especially you, Emissary Qinyi. Don't you still have Yi Baiming as your subordinate? His strength is enough to dominate the entire Earth Wings arena. Just him alone is enough for you to win the bet, Su Dagua questioned. Emissary Qin and Emissary Zhao smiled wryly. The Night Formation emissary replied, Yi Baiming is unwilling to compete. Ever since that match against Feng Tian, he said that he wanted to find an opportunity to break through and still refuses to participate in the competition. If he doesn't want to compete, then he won't think of a way. Su de Guoshu was almost angered to death. Qinyi wiped the cold sweat off his forehead and cursed in his heart. This old man, if you have the ability, why don't you tell Yi Baiming this? That fiend had smashed Yellow Knight Emissary into a meat patty with a single palm strike. Now that Yellow Knight Emissary had sent himself to his doorstep to look for him, wasn't he just trying to hang himself? Was he tired of living? De Guoshu, don't be angry. There's still some time before the end of the year. Maybe we can make a lot of money from this year's combined annual competition. Emissary Wang, who had been silent at the side, volunteered. Earlier, because the Xuani division was forced to stop the competition, the income of the Xuani division was almost zero. Emissary Wang was worried that he wouldn't be able to report back to his superiors, so he secretly bribed Kong Fei with a large sum of money and asked him to help facilitate the battle between the two divisions. It's the combined annual competition. Are you planning to use the forbidden medicine again? I'm afraid it's not safe. Su de Guoshu still had some lingering fear. The incident with Lu Qingqing last time had caused the Hidden Night Pavilion to suffer heavy losses. Don't worry, de Guoshu. This time there will be no mistakes. I've already ordered my pharmacist to improve the prescription. Emissary Wang was full of confidence. I've already ordered people to add a new forbidden medicine to the food of the participating magical beasts. After eating this forbidden medicine, individual magical beasts can even display strength exceeding that of a commander-level magical beast. Emissary Wang said with ill intentions. Magical beasts exceeding the commander level, in other words, were king-level magical beasts. Even if only one king-level magical beast appeared, it would be enough for the 24 contestants to fight to the death. Needless to say, there were only 4 contestants. In this way, the scales of victory were completely tilted to the magical beast side. But this fact was only known to the Hidden Night Pavilion. Very good. Whether the Hidden Night Pavilion can survive this year will depend on this year's annual competition. I will invest more than half of the Hidden Night Pavilion's funds. Su de Guosho was relieved. De Guosho, what about the Yellow Wings Division? The newly arrived Knight Emissary of the Yellow Wings Division couldn't wait to ask. As usual, I will send more people to you. I want to let that woman, Tianyi Yu, know that Tianyi City is a man's territory. As a woman, she can't be independent at all. Su de Guosho said arrogantly. It was also time to let those people see the true strength of the Hidden Night Pavilion. Su de Guosho dismissed the 4 knight emissaries and returned to his residence. After a day of fatigue, he quickly fell asleep. In the middle of the night, Su de Guosho was in a daze when he felt a warm current flowing past his neck. The pillow was wet, like he smelled a strange smell. Su de Guosho touched it with his hand, and then put it to the tip of his nose and sniffed. Ah! Su de Guosho's voice echoed throughout the Hidden Night Pavilion. The 3 knight emissaries of the Yellow Wings Division hurried over without even putting on their shoes. Su de Guosho's face was ashen, his hair disheveled. On his bed, the mattress was already blood red, and there were bloodstains everywhere. In the position of the pillow there was a human head. The head belonged to the new knight emissary of the Yellow Wings Division who was still alive. De Guosho, are you okay? The several knight emissaries saw such a tragic situation, and felt a chill on their necks. No one spoke, but everyone's heart was as clear as snow. This was a warning Su de Guosho. Since they could kill the new knight emissary without anyone noticing, then next time, they will most likely come back to take Su de Guosho's head. Su de Guosho's heart was also trembling with fear. He was secretly guessing who had done it. Under Tianyi Yu, there was obviously no one with such skills who could sneak into the Hidden Night Pavilion without anyone noticing. Could it be the Lord of Tianyi City? But the Lord of Tianyi City would not do that, unless he went against the agreement with that lord. Su de Guosho's mind was in a mess. First, stop all actions against the Yellow Wings Division. Su de Guosho's spirit was dispirited after this scare. For the first time, he found that his opponent was much more powerful than he had imagined. However, Su de Guosho was not a person who easily admitted defeat. He still pinned his hopes on this year's annual competition. As long as he won a big victory in this year's annual competition, the economy of Tianyi City would certainly suffer a heavy blow. At that time, whether it was Tianyi Yu or the Lord of Tianyi City, he would no longer put them in his eyes. Chapter 677. 2 days later at dawn, Zhou Quan went to knock on the Oriole's door excitedly. Due to what happened a few days ago, the Oriole was still angry with Zhou Quan. What are you doing? Don't bother me, the Oriole said angrily. Oriole, don't be angry. Look, I bought something good for you. Zhou Quan couldn't wait to take out a set of things. What is this? The Oriole took a glance and found that Zhou Quan was holding a few pieces of paper that looked like cards. This is called the 12 Saint Seiya card. It has your favorite, Flame Emperor battle team, on it. This card is very beautiful. Zhou Quan took it out as if he was presenting a treasure. What? Flame Emperor. When the Oriole heard this, it completely forgot that it was still angry and immediately snatched the card. The Oriole liked Flame Emperor very much, but the origin of Flame Emperor was too mysterious. As a young girl, she was always interested in mysterious things. The more this was the case, the more supporters of Flame Emperor would have. The Oriole inquired for a long time, but did not find any news about Flame Emperor. Zhou Quan's 12 Saint Seiya card really caught the Oriole's appetite. The so-called 12 Saint Seiya card was actually a special magic card. It had illustrations of the 12 champions of this year's monthly competition and a brief introduction. The magic card was made of beast skin and was specially drawn with beast blood. Compared to ordinary cards, the characters on this special magic card could move. Take the August Flame Emperor Saint Seiya card as an example. It vividly drew the appearance of Flame Emperor and Flame Emperor. As long as the card was shaken, the illustration of Flame Emperor on it would change and release flames, best water mist magic and flames, Wind Slash. It really is Flame Emperor, that's great. For the sake of Flame Emperor, I will forgive you this time. The Oriole was very happy and kept playing with the card in her hand. Zhou Quan's card set was given to him by Yun Sheng for free, but the price of such a card set was not low. A set of Beast Skin 12 Saint Seiya card set was sold for as high as 20 gold coins. After the Oriole got that set of cards, he was in a good mood, and he forgave Zhou Quan right away, which moved him to tears and snot. Not only were there 12 Saint Seiya cards, but there were also a large number of other things that came along with them. For example, 12 Saint Seiya dolls, 12 Saint Seiya cards, 12 Saint Seiya mage robes, 12 Saint Seiya teacups, and all kinds of other things. A few days before the start of the annual competition, the streets and alleys of Skywing City were filled with them. The daughters of the aristocratic families and the wives of the officials who came to watch the competition were especially fond of these little toys. Almost everyone had a set. Some of them even bought more than 10 sets at once, saying that they would bring them back to their friends. These trinkets quickly attracted the attention of the relevant people in the city lord's residence. In the end, it even alarmed the city lord of Skywing City. Father, I was the one who found someone to make these things. I've given them a special name. They're called the peripheral souvenirs, Heaven's Wing Jade said respectfully. I feel that this is a very good way to drive the performance of the arena, and I plan to expand it vigorously in the future. This is much easier than relying exclusively on the income of the arena. Heaven's Wing Jade took out an account book. This account book contained the money she had earned by selling the peripheral souvenirs in a short span of 10 days. So it's the damn things you made. How much money can you make with such unorthodox methods? Heaven's Wing Jade had a look of disdain when he heard this. During this period he had also noticed that there were a lot of miscellaneous trinkets in the city. They were all things that women liked. Heaven's Wing Jade was certain that men would never like them. Oh, then why don't you take a look and see how much money I made from selling these miscellaneous things? Father, please take a look, Heaven's Wing Jade said sarcastically. The city lord of Skywing City took a look at the account book and was shocked. Within 10 days, just selling those miscellaneous trinkets had earned more than 200,000 gold coins. Heaven's Wing Jade hurriedly snatched the account book and took a look. He was also dumbfounded. Father, this is only the beginning. I still plan to find a few storytellers to specifically transcribe some of the most exciting scenes of the arena. When the time comes, I'll sell them. I've even come up with a name. It'll be called Skywing Gossip Weekly. Heaven's Wing Jade told her all about the method that Yun Sheng had told her earlier. The city lord of Skywing City and his two good-for-nothing sons were dumbfounded. What peripheral souvenirs? What Skywing Gossip Weekly? They had never even heard of these terms before. Where did you hear these terms? Although peripheral souvenirs sound like they can make money, there's still some risk involved. The city lord of Skywing City was confused. Father, I came up with all of this. If you're worried about losing money, there's no need to worry. I'll be responsible for my own profits and losses. Heaven's Wing Jade looked very confident. The city lord of Skywing City thought about it. He had really lost a lot of money on this daughter of his. Given Heaven's Wing Jade's talent, just being the person in charge of the Yellow Wings competition zone was still a bit of a grievance for her. For the sake of losing money, he agreed to Heaven's Wing Jade's request. Your idea is very good. How about this? From now on, you'll be in charge of the arena's peripheral and weekly reports. You two brothers have to do your best to cooperate with you. The two Skywing brothers looked depressed, but at their father's request, they had no choice but to agree to the city lord of Skywing City's order. Just like that, Heaven's Wing Jade obtained exclusive rights to the Skywing Arena's peripheral souvenirs and a series of weekly reports. After she left the city lord's residence, she immediately went straight to the inn to meet up with Yun Sheng. Yun Sheng, good news. I told father what you said and he agreed to let me manage these businesses. Heaven's Wing Jade was actually still a little dizzy at this point. Yun Sheng had suddenly found her and said that she had a good business to discuss with her. Yun Sheng's business had a special term called fan economy. Heaven's Wing Jade did not know what fans were, but she still followed Yun Sheng's instructions and found someone to customize a batch of peripheral souvenirs in a short period of time. The number of souvenirs in the first batch was very limited, only 100 sets. At that time, Heaven's Wing Jade was still skeptical that those little trinkets could really be sold at such a high price. However, much to Heaven's Wing Jade's surprise, those peripheral souvenirs were snapped up, and some people even directly requested to reserve the next batch. This immediately convinced Heaven's Wing Jade of this new business, which was why Heaven's Wing Jade went to the Skywing City Lord's residence to ask for the exclusive right to operate. According to the prior agreement between Yun Xing and Heaven's Wing Jade, if this matter was successful, Yun Xing and Heaven's Wing Jade would each share half of the income from the peripheral sales and the Gossip Weekly. In fact, to really calculate it, this was not the first time Yun Xing had used the arena and competition to make money. Thank you, everyone, for your tips and monthly votes. Do, I'll be busy for a while. After I'm done, I'll update more often. Chapter 678. The last time, when Huang Ting was fighting against the Black Hussar Hunting Corps at the Hunter Citadel, Yun Xing had used a magic scroll to record the battle situation of the finals. At that time, Yun Xing had sold 500 magic scrolls and the sales were booming. That was also the first time that Yun Xing had a rough idea of the surroundings of the arena. At that time, Yun Xing was still young and not very powerful, and she knew even fewer people. There were also very few exciting matches in the Hunter Citadel on the mainland. Yun Xing had temporarily shelved that idea. But after coming to the Skywings arena, everything was different. That was why Yun Xing had dared to give it a try. Sure enough, this test was no small matter. In the Boundless Continent, firstly, there were no televisions, and secondly, there were no computers. People's daily entertainment was very limited. At most, it was daily entertainment like blowing on candles, warming the bed, and giving birth to children. Yun Xing's fan economy was really a great creation. However, what Yun Xing did not know was that it was also because of that set of specially made 12 Saint Seiya cards that gave rise to a series of troubles during the annual competition with Donghuang Linger. This was also the first time that the term fan economy had appeared in the Boundless Continent. Since ancient times, any new thing that came out of nothing would always cause a stir. After this incident in Skywing City, the terms souvenirs and gossip magazines gradually appeared on the mainland. And gradually this kind of business also became a large-scale business. Because Tianyu and Yun Xing were the #1 crabbers in the Boundless Continent and had the advantage of the Skywings arena, they accumulated a large amount of wealth in the future. It was just that at this time the two of them who were still playing around had not realized it yet. Yun Xing, I really don't know how your brain works. How did you think of such a novel business? Tianyu could not help but sigh. Haha, I thought of it on the spur of the moment. Yun Xing secretly stuck out her tongue in her heart. She could not possibly tell Tianyu that she had already gotten used to this so-called fan economy when she was in the modern world in her previous life. Before Yun Xing transmigrated, when she was still a student in the School of Famous Medical Sciences, there was a girl in her dorm who was madly infatuated with a domestic idol star. That girl bought souvenirs and entertainment magazines that were worth tens of thousands of yuan. Although the continent was different now, human nature was still the same. There were many reasons for their popularity. Some contestants were born idols because of their eye-catching appearance. There were also some who were extremely powerful and were Hotian powerhouses. No matter which one it was, they would all have their own supporters. However, the popularity of the Flame Emperors was only because they were mysterious enough. Sometimes, a mysterious origin was the best selling point to keep people in suspense. That set of 12 Saint Seiya cards was designed by Yun Xing by imitating the 12 constellation cards. The portraits of the characters on the cards were personally drawn by Donghuang Linger, who was an expert in painting. And with the help of the magic medium, the effect was much better than what Yun Xing had expected. After the Skywings arena sold the surrounding souvenirs, they sold very well. The business-minded Tianyu even opened up a special area in the Yellow Wings competition zone, which increased the attendance rate in the arena to a certain extent. Especially that set of 12 Saint Seiya cards, which were sold in the hundreds every day. Among them, the August Flame Emperor card was the most popular. Many people came over and directly bought the card with the Flame Emperor drawn on it. Seeing that the sales were so good, Tianyu followed suit and found someone to draw a whole set of cards for the contestants of the other competition zones, which was still selling very well. When the people in charge of the other zones saw that Tianyu was making a fortune, their eyes glowed red. Unfortunately, the Skywing City Lord had already given the order that all the surrounding sales were to be handled by Tianyu, so the others could only look on helplessly. In the blink of an eye, it was December. Skywing City became lively all of a sudden. Some of the city's nosy residents gathered at the city gates to watch the aristocratic families and royalty who had come to the Skywings arena to watch the competition. In the sky, well-designed airships would occasionally appear, and flying magical beasts with extraordinary bloodlines would occasionally appear. They had all come to the Skywings Arena to watch the annual competition. All the inns in the city were filled to the brim. There were people everywhere. Ninth caller, we've already searched for many days. We've practically searched the entire Skywing city, but we still haven't found the whereabouts of that magical beast. It'll be hard to explain when we get back. The fifth and ninth callers walked on the bustling street. All of Skywing City was immersed in the lively atmosphere of the annual competition. Only the two callers from the Zao state weren't in a good mood. The fifth and ninth callers had already been in Skywing City for 4 or 5 months as representatives of the Zao state, but they still hadn't found any clues about the missing king-level magical beast. Wait. The ninth caller only said one word. The ninth caller didn't say it clearly. She still had to wait. She had a premonition that this annual competition might be her opportunity to discover the king-level magical beast. As the annual competition drew closer, that premonition in her heart became more and more obvious. At that moment, a very quick-witted hawker came up and interrupted the ninth caller's train of thought. Esteemed Lord Summoners, when you reach Skywing City, would you like to buy a set of this city's specialties, the 12 Saint Seiya cards? Go away, go away. Can't you see we're busy? The fifth caller was worried that this hawker would anger the ninth caller, so he impatiently shooed him away. Just take a look. The craftsmanship of these cards is very good. The people on them are very lifelike and they can even use magic. The hawker didn't give up and stuffed a set of cards into the ninth caller's hands. The ninth caller was just about to explode when he lowered his head and inadvertently saw the cards. It was a team from the arena called Flame Emperor. Customer, you have good taste. This is the best set of cards for sale right now, the Flame Emperor cards. You've heard of Flame Emperor, right? He's the biggest dark horse in the arena this year, the champion of August's monthly competition. The hawker spared no effort in recommending. Hey, what's wrong with you? Don't you know I told you to go away? The fifth caller was impatient. This hawker really didn't have good taste. The ninth caller was temperamental. In the Zao state, there was once a reckless summoner who pestered her for the secret of summoning. She directly cut out his tongue. But in the next second, the ninth caller's actions made the fifth caller's eyes almost pop out of their sockets. I'll buy it. The ninth caller took the set of cards and left without looking back. Hey customer, don't go. You haven't paid yet. Those are specially made beast skin cards. They're the last set and they cost 30 gold coins. The hawker panicked. But when he turned around, that strange female magician was nowhere to be seen. Chapter 679. The fifth lord hurriedly paid the vendor and sent him away. Asking the ninth lord for money? She probably didn't even have that on her. What were you selling just now? The fifth lord was so focused on talking that he didn't see what the ninth lord had taken. This time, the Emperor Zao in red had specially instructed him to pay attention to the ninth lord's actions. If there was anything strange, he had to report back as soon as possible. Ever since the fifth lord met the ninth lord, he had never seen her treat anything differently. Even last time, when the eldest son of the Skywing City Lord had invited the two of them to the treasure boat, which was filled with treasures, the ninth lord had not spared them a glance. Honorable customer, that's the last set of 12 Saint Seiya cards. If you really want them, there's another set of papyrus cards. But the pictures are not as good as the previous set. This set only costs 5 gold coins. Seeing that business had come, the vendor hurriedly took out another set. The 12 cards were neatly placed on the table. The ninth lord looked at the 8th card. There were 2 young women. Both of them were magicians. Just now, one of them was wearing a white magician's robe and had just used a fairy spell. Because she was wearing a mask, the ninth lord, Hu Jiuxing, couldn't recognize the female magician's face. She repeatedly checked the spell that the young female magician had used, but she couldn't find any clues. However, the fairy spell that the young female magician had used was the purest form of fairy magic. Perhaps only a real fairy magician could use it. Could it be her? The ninth lord muttered to herself. Just now, when she accidentally saw the champion of August's monthly tournament, Flame Emperor, especially the female magician in white, her chest tightened. The ninth lord stared at the card in a daze. Ever since she parted ways with Yun Sheng in the Immortal Ju Nation 5 years ago, she realized that she was a little different. That's impossible. She should still be in the immortal residence. The elf queen would never let a human girl leave the elf kingdom. Hu Jiuxing pushed the set of cards away in annoyance. Coincidentally, the fifth lord walked in. He pretended not to see the messy cards, walked forward, and handed over an invitation card. The 9th main summon is an invitation from second young master Channy Dong. He said that he's inviting us to watch the annual competition in the Skywings Arena's black and yellow divisions in 3 days. After the 2 main summons from the Zao state had come to Skywing City, Channy Dong had been thinking of ways to rope them in. Alas, the 9th Lord hated Channy Dong and kept rejecting his invitations. The 5th Lord thought that the 9th Lord would reject him again. Unexpectedly, the 9th Lord glanced at the invitation and said indifferently, "All right. Then I'll decline. You want to watch the annual competition? But haven't you always hated hunting magic beasts?" The 5th summoner was surprised. The 9th summoner had been a little too abnormal recently. Who said that it has to be humans hunting magical beast? Recalling the magical beast she had seen in the breeding shed that day, the 9th summoner pursed her lips into a thin line under her mask. This time, Channy Dong had really prepared an astonishing competition that would shake the entire continent for everyone. She was actually looking forward to it. 3 days before the start of the annual competition, Yun Sheng and Dong Huanglinger received a notice from the Skywings Arena. The two had to go to the Skywings Arena and participate in the drawing of lots to determine their team. Channy Jade had already informed them of this when the news of the annual competition had spread. Flame Emperor. Yun Sheng and Dong Huanglinger put on their masks and headed to the Skywings Arena. In the freshly decorated annual competition lounge, several team members were already seated. As representatives of the Skywings Arena, the top-level annual competition, those who could enter this lounge were all the most outstanding contestants of the Yellow Wings division. Apart from being strong, these people had one thing in common, and that was pride. Among them, there was a pair of golden-haired male and female contestants who were the most eye-catching. This was a pair of contestants with very eye-catching appearances. The man and woman both had long blonde hair. The man was tall, handsome, and well-built, but he didn't have the kind of frightening physique that was full of muscles. The woman had long wavy hair and a charming appearance. Her figure was tall and curvy, and she had a pair of enchanting red eyes that emitted a flirtatious light. She was like a human-shaped Barbie doll. This team was the champion of the May monthly competition, Li Xinyue and Huang Fushi of the Lionheart Battle team. The two were both comrades and lovers. Whether it was in the arena or anywhere else, the two were the indisputable center of attention. Although there were other team members in the lounge, the two didn't pay any attention to them at all. Li Xinyue was still holding a set of cards in her hand. When she flipped to the August Saint, Flame Emperor card, she pouted and a fireball appeared in her hand, burning the card clean. Just two ugly people wearing masks. What right do they have to become the most popular team in this year's annual competition? What made Li Xinyue unhappy was the souvenirs that had suddenly become popular in Skywing City recently. Originally, when she saw that the Lionheart Battle team had been drawn into the May Saint card, she had been happy for a while. Who knew that when she found out that Flame Emperor's card was the best-selling card, she was filled with anger. Needless to say, when she found out that the Flame Emperor had become the most popular team before the start of the annual competition, Li Xinyue couldn't hold it in anymore. She even directly criticized the person who had drawn the 12 Saint Seiya card, deliberately favoring the Flame Emperor. This was because she thought that the two Flame Emperor and Flame Emperor, who didn't dare to show their real faces, had drawn their legs longer than hers and their breasts bigger than hers. Xinyue, don't worry too much. They are the most popular team, but we are the team with the most potential. This is publicly acknowledged. Huang Fushi comforted his female companion. The Lionheart Battle team was indeed strong. In May they had swept all their opponents and reached the top. Even Lu Qingqing and Gui Dao had lost to the two of them in the individual competition before they formed Willow Blade. Moreover, the two members of the Lionheart Battle team easily defeated Lu Qingqing and Gui Dao. Comparatively, although the Flame Emperor won against Willow Blade, the two of them almost lost their lives at the last moment. This was an indisputable fact. What's more, when she won in the end, no one saw clearly how Lu Qingqing lost. Therefore, when the officials of the arena ranked Lionheart's potential, they placed him at the top of the list. Later, don't let me meet the Flame Emperor. Otherwise, I won't be nice to them. Li Xinyue was as proud as a princess. Yes, it's time to show them who's boss and let them know that the annual competition isn't something that the monthly competition can compare to. Huang Fushi agreed. At this moment, Yun Sheng and Dong Huanglinger, who had disguised themselves as the Flame Emperor, had just entered the new competition zone. Chapter 680. As all the preparations for the annual competition were carried out in secret, this was the first time Yunxing stepped into the newly renovated competition zone after a few months. The arena could not be seen for the time being, but the lounge was much better than before. It was comparable to a 5-star lounge. "You're quite arrogant, making so many of us wait for the two of you." A mocking voice was heard as soon as she entered the lounge. "Flame, those two have been staring at us. It looks like they're not very satisfied with us. We didn't provoke them, right?" Flame keenly captured the source of the voice. A pair of very eye-catching contestants were staring provocatively at Flame Emperor, who had just entered. As Flame Emperor was not familiar with the new competition zone, the two of them took some time to find a place and arrived later than the other 11 teams. "Everyone is here. Let's start drawing lots to form the temporary team." Heavenly Wing Jade was in charge of the drawing of lots this time. She saw that Lionheart's people were not in a good mood and hurriedly stepped forward to stop them. After the drawing of lots, Heavenly Wing Jade also announced the competition rules for this combined annual competition. As this annual competition was a competition between humans and magical beasts, Heavenly Wing Jade also explained the ranks of magical beasts on the continent. The magical beasts in the Boundless Continent were ranked from rank 1 to 9, Commander-level magical beasts and King-level magical beasts. As the representative of the continent's highest level of competition, Heavenly Wings Arena, most of the magical beasts in the Mysterious Wings division were rank 7, 8, and 9. Magical beasts of this rank were rare in other places on the continent. As for the magical beasts that could fight their way into the final monthly competition, most of them were already Commander-level magical beasts. The appearance of a King-level magical beast in the Mysterious Wings division happened in July. Due to the appearance of the King-level magical beast, the Mysterious Wings division was completely destroyed. Therefore, the remaining 4 months of the Mysterious Wings division could not be held as scheduled. Therefore, the magical beasts that won the monthly competition in the Mysterious Wings division were, to put it bluntly, only 6. Excluding the King-level magical beast that escaped, the magical beasts participating in this annual competition were the champions of the monthly competitions from January to June. After a joint discussion between the people in charge of the Heavenly Wings Arena, they decided to use a 4-on-1 format for the annual competition. There were 2 pairs of monthly contestants against a commander-level magical beast. After all, in terms of strength, a commander-level magical beast was much stronger than a sacred mage or a warrior below the martial ancestor level. Even if it was 4 against 1, the contestants only had a 50% chance of winning. When they heard that their opponent was a commander-level magical beast, most of the contestants revealed ugly expressions. When they woke up earlier, they all thought that the participants would at most be level 9 magical beasts. Who knew that the strength of the magical beasts in the Xuani district was actually so terrifying? It's just a commander-level magical beast. There's no need for 4 people. Lion and I are enough to deal with it, Lionheart's Li Xinyue said proudly. Li Xinyue and Huang Fushi were both capable generals of a B-grade hunter corps on the continent in their early years. Because they despised the low income of the hunting corps, they decided to become competitive hunters. Compared with other players, the two of them have fought against warring states' commander-level magical beasts, so they won't have any problems this time. Flame Emperor looked at the two of them carefully. The man was tall and handsome, and the woman was sexy and enchanting. They were both eye-catching contestants, but other than this time, they had never offended each other. She didn't know where the strong hostility from the two of them came from. Li Xinyue was also paying attention to Flame Emperor. She was depressed to find that the two girls were indeed as drawn on the card. They were slightly more concave than her, and the parts that were supposed to be convex were much more convex than her. The two of them were also wearing masks. Just by standing on the arena casually, they had stolen the limelight. Li Xinyue and Huang Fushi were very dissatisfied when they thought about how the two of them would be in the limelight in the upcoming annual competition. The rules of the competition are that only 2 people are allowed to participate. No one is allowed to be special. Either participate or get lost. Tianyu was also very dissatisfied with Lionheart's 2 people. The two of them were very arrogant and had offended her, the person in charge, just now. In the arena, the most taboo thing was to have people who thought they were invincible, but were actually nothing. Lionheart didn't dare to speak rudely after Tianyu's rebuke. 12 groups of people went up to draw lots at once. The method of drawing lots was that the Heaven's Wing Jade's line of sight would place the 6 numbers, 1 to 6, in a hidden box. There were 2 of each number. The contestants who drew the same number would form a temporary team to fight against the corresponding magical beast in the Xianyi area. Lionheart's 2 people were the first to draw lots. They drew a 3. The other contestants also drew their numbers one after another. When it was Flame Emperor's turn, Flame Emperor was the representative to draw lots. As she drew, she thought to herself, anyone is fine as long as it's not Broken Heart. She didn't want to form a temporary team with Broken Heart. However, fate didn't follow her wishes. When Flame Emperor opened the slip of paper that he drew, there was a 3 inside. The result was very clear. Flame Emperor and Lionheart formed the 3rd team. All the temporary team members had been confirmed. The new teams were the first to 6th teams of the 6 major teams. The specific battle against the magical beasts will be confirmed on the day of the annual competition, before the first round of the competition begins. Everyone has worked hard. In the next 3 days, please prepare well. Heavenly Winged Jade recorded the results of the draw and went to the arena to report. How unlucky. We drew the worst lot and met 2 people who are dragging us down. Li Xinhua tore the number from the draw into pieces and threw it at Flame Emperor. Hey, what do you mean? We don't know who's dragging who down. Flame Emperor was furious. Lu Qingqing was gone with great difficulty, and now these 2 people were here. Just thinking about these 2 peacocks participating in the annual competition was enough to make Flame Emperor feel hurt. Facing a commander-level magical beast was already troublesome enough. In this kind of situation, if they met a comrade with good teamwork, their chances of winning would undoubtedly be much higher. But if they were to clash with Lionheart, it would be good if the other party didn't stab them in the back. I'm talking about you guys. I don't know what method you used to win against Willow Blade. In my opinion, Willow Blade is much stronger than you guys, Huang Fushi said from the side. You guys. Flame Emperor was so angry that his face turned red. He really wanted to rush up and let the 2 of them see how strong they were. We'll know who's stronger and who's weaker in the competition. Flame Emperor didn't want to waste too much time on these 2 clowns. After the temporary team list was confirmed, the next step was to wait for the annual competition. Chapter 681. This year's annual competition was seen as a turnaround battle by Tianyi Dong, and it was also the most anticipated competition of the year in the Tianyi arena. In order to attract more spectators, Tianyi Dong began to send out invitations a month before the start of the annual competition. It also took a month for the arena to reopen some of the venues in the Xuanyi and Yellow Wing divisions and build all kinds of ordinary seats and VIP seats. Tianyi Dong's invitations included the royal family, important ministers, aristocratic families, some large hunting corps, and the people in charge of the continent's top-notch hunting citadels. These people arrived in Tianyi City at the beginning of January one after another. Tianyi City, which was already very lively, had a large number of airships and flying magical beasts. The day before the annual competition, Tianyi Dong brought a few subordinates to the city gate to welcome a luxurious airship that had just descended from the sky. A pot-bellied middle-aged man came down from the airship. He spoke with a thick Eastern capital accent, and when he saw Tianyi Dong, he cupped his hands familiarly. Brother Dong, I haven't seen you in 3 years, and your cultivation has improved. Left Minister is too polite. Did the East Emperor and the Empress Dowager not come together? Tianyi Dong asked respectfully. This time he even asked someone to deliver the invitation to the Eastern capital. Although the East capital existed in name only on the boundless continent, the East capital's heir apparent was still the one and only emperor on the continent. No matter how strong the rulers of the other 5 countries were, they could only be called emperors. Her Highness the Princess has been ill for a long time. The Emperor and the Empress Dowager were worried about her condition and didn't dare to leave, so they sent me to watch the competition. Although the left minister of the East capital was a civil official, he was very familiar with Tianyi City. The left minister had a luxurious courtyard in the East capital. A few years ago, when the East capital was still stable, the left minister would often bring a few beautiful concubines to Tianyi City to avoid the summer and winter. What, only second young master is here today? Why is Su de Guosho nowhere to be seen? Seeing that there were only people from Tianyi Dong around the airship, the left minister was a little curious. The minister of the left was also a top-notch figure. He was well versed in politics, and not only did he have connections with the arena's Skywing Dong and the treasure boat Skywing Tua, he even had some friendly relations with the hidden night pavilion Su Dagua. Great National Master Su's situation this year is not very good. A few days ago, I heard that he was frightened and is recuperating in the pavilion. You're already so old, so the shock can be big or small, the eastern half of the Skywing Wings mocked. The Hidden Night Pavilion had caused quite a commotion recently, and it was rare for them to settle down. Oh, that's a pity. Prime Ministers will look regretful. In the past, when he came, Suda Guosho would find some fresh chicks for him to try. Haha, I've already prepared what left Prime Minister wants. Come, let's go this way. Tell me about the latest news on the continent. Tianyi Dong already knew this old lecher's taste. He pulled the left Prime Minister into the city. Recently, the most important thing in the eastern capital is the princess's marriage. Prime Ministers will look worried. Are you talking about the marriage between later Qin's Crown Prince Du Guxiu and Princess Donghuang? Hasn't this matter already been decided? Tianyi Dong also knew a little about the continent's affairs. It has been decided. Crown Prince Du Guxiu has already ordered people to urge him several times. Because of this matter, the Crown Prince even refused your invitation. Prime Ministers sighed. It's a pity that the princess's illness has not improved. I came to Channy City this time to ask Great National Master Su to come with me. Perhaps he can treat the princess's illness. The marriage between later Qin and the eastern capital had been facilitated by Prime Minister Zhou. However, he was somewhat regretful that later Qin's crown prince could not come. He had heard that later Qin's crown prince Du Guxiu's strength was outstanding, so he wanted to use this opportunity to compare notes. Isn't that simple? Once the annual competition is over, you can ask Great National Master Su to go to the eastern capital. Tianyi Dong did not have much interest in this kind of marriage between the imperial family. That's right. When the time comes, just ask Great National Master Su. Second young master, I heard that the Tianyi Arena has been renovated. This year's annual competition will definitely be very exciting. Prime Minister Zhou and the second young master chatted as they strode into the city. Not long after Tianyi Dong left, Yi Baiming brought Long Hua to the city gate. There was no superfluous expression on his face. After a while, a very ordinary-looking merchant ship docked. 4 or 5 people came down from the ship. Leading them was a boy around 6 or 7 years old. The boy had red lips, white teeth, and a pair of light brown eyes. He looked very lively. Next to the boy was a young woman in ordinary clothes. Although she was dressed normally, the young woman's temperament was not ordinary. Her face was slightly pale, clearly due to the discomfort of sitting on the empty ship for a long time. As soon as the boy got off the ship, he looked around. When he saw Yi Baiming, his little face immediately lit up. Brother Ming. As if he had grown wings, the boy opened his little hands and rushed toward Yi Baiming. Yi Baiming's handsome face was still as cold as ice. Unexpectedly, Yi Baiming was indifferent and took a step back. Crown Prince, you're here. Lord Baiming, thank you for specially coming to pick us up. The young woman looked at the boy lovingly. These 2 people were the new Crown Prince of Zhou State, Yi Beiqing, and his mother, Empress Wenren. Brother Ming, can you not call me Crown Prince? You can call me Beiqing. Before Mother left, she said that we are visiting incognito. We can't address each other by the way we address each other in the palace. Yi Beiqing looked at his elder brother with admiration. Yi Baiming and Yi Beiqing were 7 years apart. Before Yi Beiqing was 3 years old, he had never heard that he had a second brother. He had always disliked his eldest brother, Yi Beilian, because he always bullied him. However, a few years ago Yi Beiqing met his second brother by chance. His second brother was handsome and skilled in martial arts. For a boy of his age, such an elder brother was worthy of being called an elder brother. Yi Beiqing wanted to be close to his second brother, but his second brother was very antisocial and he could never find a chance to get along with him. After his eldest brother passed away, he became the crown prince and his second brother disappeared. This time, his mother mentioned by chance that his second brother was in Channy City. Coincidentally, the second son of Channy City's Lord, Tianyi Dong, sent an invitation. Yi Di of Zhou State thought that at Yi Beiqing's age, it was time to broaden his horizons. Therefore he ordered Empress Wenren to bring the crown prince, Yi Beiqing, to Channy City. Empress Wenren liked to keep a low profile and was unwilling to take the royal family's empty ship. Therefore she rented an ordinary merchant ship, disguised herself as a commoner, and arrived at Channy City. I've already arranged accommodation. Please come with me, Empress and Crown Prince. Yi Baiming acted as if he did not hear and ordered Long Hua to prepare a carriage and clothes for the Crown Prince and Empress. Yi Beiqing's little face immediately darkened. Empress Wenren's eyes also dimmed. There was no kinship in the royal family. Could it be that Lord Byming could not forget the past? The two of them, one adult and one child, were sent to the carriage. The carriage rumbled forward. Yi Byming stood on the street, his back looking exceptionally bleak. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.